to the voice inside. Freeing my mind, let the stars come out. If I fire through the night, turning darkness into light. Stars up in space, nothing's the same. Now watch me burn your love to ashes. Now watch me burn your love to ashes. turning back now. It's you and I. You and I were meant to collide. Through the world, now here through your eyes. You and I were meant to collide forever. You and I were meant to collide. Through the world, now here through your eyes. You and I were meant to collide forever. Biding time that you don't own. You leave me waiting all alone. Breaking words you said in fear. Promises that felt like tears. And when I'm waiting all alone, I need you to take me home. Promises like broken bones. I've been holding on to you. And when I'm waiting all alone, I need you to take me home. Promises like broken bones. I've been holding fighting battles we can't win. Can't you see the mess we're in? Choking up on every sin. Your promises don't mean a thing. And when I'm waiting all alone, I need you to take me home. Promises like broken bones. I've been holding on to you. And when I'm waiting all alone,
All right,
take me home.
let's get this started. 1 second here. I'm going to turn down the music. Alrighty then. So it's podcast time. Oh, let me fix this. Wow. The window's a little off. Hold on. Don't panic, team. Wow, we're good. We seem to be good. Alrighty. Well, welcome everyone to the Chillest podcast. Welcome to episode 13, Tough Twitch Love, Balancing Streaming and Your Significant Other. This is a monthly podcast and we are all part of the Chillest. If you're wondering, we are a stream team focusing on positivity, good vibes, amazing welcoming communities, and just an overall high quality content. So if you haven't checked all of the team out, please do. The Chillest, we have a Chillest command in my community, in my chat that you guys can pull up. But check out everybody on the team. We're not the only ones on the team, but we are the only ones on the topic for the month, for the episode. So, like I said, the topic for today is Tough Twitch Love, Balancing Streaming and Your Significant Other. And I'm actually quite excited for this topic. In general, it's a topic that not many people talk about, and I feel it's a very important topic that I know people would love to hear perspectives on and to get advice, recommendations, how to handle it, because a lot of people out there struggle with this sort of thing. So we will be talking about that. If you're not familiar with how the podcast works, usually this goes for about 2 to 3 hours. They're pretty lengthy, but they only happen once a month, so I feel like it's all right for us to go that long. Usually we don't talk directly to the chat, but we are all watching the chat. So if you ever have any questions pertaining to the topic at hand, the discussion at hand, make sure you mention at Snowlit or Snowy or Snow or something like that in your message so that it highlights it for me so I can see it. And if I find that it's a relevant question to what we're currently discussing, then I'll ask it to everybody currently on the episode. So don't hesitate, get involved in the discussion. And yeah, that's really about it, I guess. So, to start out with, we're going to do a brief round of introductions in case you don't know some of us right now on the episode. And we'll start clockwise from Tess.
Hi. I'm glad you said clockwise because I can never tell with Zoom. Anyway, I'm glad you said my name. Thank you. Hi everybody, welcome to the podcast. So I'm Tess. I stream a lot of action RPGs. I used to do primarily scary games, but I got sort of scared out after about 3 years of it. So now I pretty much do action RPGs, action games, FPS games. I still wear a heart rate monitor for all of my streams so you guys can tell exactly how scared or excited or super hyped I am. Right now I'm a little bit hyper because of a combination of endorphins and a little bit of wine, and it's good. It's good. I stream in the mornings at 9 a.m. Eastern right now, except for Mondays when I start at 10, and Thursdays when I usually take a day off, but not this Thursday. And I'm obsessed with Horizon Zero Dawn and Mass Effect.
Awesome. So going clockwise, I would be next. So I'm Snowlit. I am the leader and the creator of the Chillest. I'm a full-time streamer. I've been streaming just over 2 years now. It's about 2 years and 3 months, roughly. And I focus a lot on action-adventure RPGs and story-driven games in general. So recently I've been working on Horizon Zero Dawn, like everybody else. and they're, uncles and aunts and cats and everybody just playing that game. And I'm also working on Neo. I'm also working on Bloodborne, my first playthroughs of those, as well as Resident Evil 7 and The Witcher 3 in G+. So I have a bad habit of starting a billion games and just not finishing them. So I'm trying my best to finish at least one of those 5 I just listed. But yeah, that's what I usually do. And next is Spoonie.
Oh, for some reason I was thinking I was last. Well, hi, I'm Spoonie. Apparently I don't know what clockwise is today, but I have tea, so we're okay. I'm a full-time variety caster. I stream usually 5 days a week, primarily focused on RPGs, both retro and modern. Right now I'm actually playing through Final Fantasy Tactics for the first time ever, and I might be the only person not playing Horizon Zero Dawn, or a game that's, yay, Brian's, I'm not alone. I don't know how I'm actually resisting the urge to play any of the games coming out recently, because a lot of them are RPGs, and I do find them interesting, but I just love retro, and most of the time my stream tends to be about just hanging out, good vibes, enjoying video games and nostalgia, and having fun. So that's who I am. I might also be a little bit silly or obsessed with Final Fantasy, but you'll probably learn that.
And then last but definitely not least, the only guy on the episode tonight, Brian, aka Avalon Star. Oh, you're muted. Uh-oh. Bear with us. We have a little bit. Oh, are you good? Nope, his mic's still muted. Oh no! Oh, there it is.
That little knob there. Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Brian, also Avalon Star. You can call me Avalon Brian, whatever. I am a full-time FF14 broadcaster on the Chillest, so I am not playing Horizon Zero Dawn, although I've been waiting for that game for 2 years. So like Spoonie, I don't know how I'm able to not play it at the moment, but yes, I stream soon enough. Stormblood, though. I stream 5 days a week, 7 hours a day. So we are equally as silly and chill and very welcoming community over there. So if you would like some FF14 during your day while you're at work, while you're on a run, you can come over to Avalon Star and we'll take good care of you. Also, this is a Spriggan. It's not from Isaac. This is a Spriggan. This was eating me before, but now it's just resting on my shoulder. My wife got it from me from Japan. She just got back from there yesterday, so I'm sure we'll be getting into a lot of those name drops in a bit, though.
Alrighty, so that's us. The 4 of us will be discussing balancing streaming and your significant other today. Again, like I said, if at any point you guys have questions relevant to the discussion that we're having, please do not hesitate. Mention @Snowlit or Snow or Snowy in your message. That way it highlights it for me in the chat and I can see it better. And if I feel like it's a question that would be good to address, I'll bring it up to everybody on the episode. So you can also type !podcast at any point during the episode to get links to all of our channels and to follow all of us, which I highly recommend. They wouldn't be on the Chillest if I didn't think they had good, high-quality content and are just amazing broadcasters and people in general. So please check everybody out. Again, we're not the only ones on the team as well, so follow everyone on the Chillest. You will love them all, I promise. All right, so without further ado, let's move into our questions. So we have a lot to talk about, and as I mentioned when we first proposed this topic, it's actually not meant to air any drama or any dirty laundry, so to speak. We're not trying to be dramatic about this. Everyone on the episode is only, you only have to share what you're comfortable sharing. Don't feel like you have to go super into detail if it's not comfortable for you, because this is a little bit personal. It's about us and our significant others in relation to streaming, and so it's only what you want to share, of course. But we are going to go into to basically what it's like to live with our significant others and to do streaming beyond a casual hobby. So, first off, how long have you been streaming consistently or full-time? And of that time, how long have you been living with your significant other? You guys feel free to chip in. There's no order of answering.
Well, I've been streaming for almost 3 years. It'll be 3 years May 1st. So when I started streaming, we weren't living together, but we were together, sort of. We'd like just gotten together. And like he knew it was a thing from the beginning, and it was just part-time, and then it became a lot more than part-time. And by that point, like we very quickly kind of moved, like we didn't officially move in together, but like Rob was at my place all the time, pretty much for a while. And then like a year later, we officially moved in together, but we pretty much lived in my apartment from the beginning, for, you know, not very long into it, I guess. Anyway, so he was there for all of it. He was there for when I was part-time, just as a hobby, like as just a fun thing that I was into while I still had my other job. And then he was there for me getting partnered, which I was a weird case, and it happened very quickly. Within the first month of streaming, I was partnered, and like all this stuff kind of snowballed very quickly. And I was like, I feel like I should take it more seriously at that point, because it had snowballed the way that it had, and it was all sort of exciting, and he was super supportive of it. Rob actually said something to me that I hugely appreciated and still do, and was that I was like made to do this. And I mean, I don't know about that, but it makes me super happy, and I think he saw that and was always kind of like, you know, do it. We did have some struggles in the beginning, but they weren't that bad. It's mostly just been amazing the whole time. So.
All right.
I'll go. I have been streaming for 3 years, full time though. For actually, it'll be a year this Thursday, and we actually, my wife and I have been living together since October of 2003. So we had like I had a complete other career before starting Twitch. Actually, it was because I started working at Twitch that I found streaming and then made the transition last year to doing it. But yeah, I could probably get into all the other stuff a little later. But yeah, so we were married for about 4 years by the time I started full time, and yeah, pretty established by then.
All right. Spoonie?
Well, Angry Trees and I have been dating since 2009. We've probably been living together since like 2010. So we had also been pretty well established by the time I started streaming. And Snowy's telling me I am. Dang it. I'm so sorry. I'm having audio issues.
It's okay.
And I don't know why this is highlighted all the time. Apparently I'm just highlighty. Sorry. So Angry Cheese and I have been together for quite some time now. And when I started streaming, it was a part-time thing. I switched to what I would consider for myself full-time hours in June of 2016. So we're coming up on a year of that. And then I recently went full-time, where this is kind of what I do primarily, just last month. So.
Okay, cool. All right, and for me, Diz and I have been together, it'll be 6 years this October. So we've been together like 5.5 years, I guess, at this point. And we've been living together for the entire time that I started streaming, even before I got partnered. So that would be living together for just over 2 years. So we started living together 3 years ago, and then I started streaming when we were like 1 year into living together. So, but we've been living together since, in different places, but we've been living together. So, yeah. And then the next question then, moving along. Does your significant other like video games? And if so, how often do you play video games with your significant other? On or off stream?
Well, I guess I was always the guy that was able to say, yeah, get compliments from friends of mine that like, oh man, I want to find I want to find a girlfriend like yours because she plays video games and stuff. You know, the old girl gamer stuff. Yeah, Jen and I have always been gamers. We actually played the night we met in person for the first time. We played DDR, LA Machine Guns. Like we were at an arcade. So like gaming is a gigantic pillar of our relationship. We've played 7 or 8 our MMOs together with recurring characters in every one. We've played through pretty much. We have this way of splitting Final Fantasies now because of the way I work and the way she likes to play games. So we've kind of developed a whole like mini. Gaming is just a very big part of both of our lives.
Well, Angry Trees, actually, when we first met, we started playing World of Warcraft together. So I would consider him a gamer. He's probably not as much of one as I am, since, I mean, I play video games like 30 plus hours a week. He's got maybe on one hand the amount of favorite games that he's beaten, but he definitely does like games. And we probably play together maybe every couple of weeks. It depends. We kind of haven't played World of Warcraft in a while, and I can't convince him to play Final Fantasy 14 with me, sadly. Maybe someday.
Someday.
Maybe Stormblood.
It'll way. Yes, it's a great way.
So when Rob and I got together, I was super into Eve. It was like right around when I was starting to stream, right before I was starting to stream, and I was still playing Eve. And Eve, for anyone that knows it, it's not really a game, it's kind of a lifestyle. So I talked a lot about Eve, and all my friends were from Eve, and yeah, it was pretty much I think I spent more time playing Eve than my full-time job at the time, which was, I spent about 35 hours a week on my full-time job and probably about 40 to 50 on Eve. That number quickly went down, partially because of Rob and partially because of stream, because I realized I couldn't stream Eve, and I really wanted to stream. So it was just a weird thing, but so I was really into that, and that game is very hard for anyone to get into. So I would explain it sort of, but it was hard for me to get into when I first started playing it. But Rob he'd played like on consoles and stuff like that and built his own PCs, but it had been a long time, right, since he like built a PC or really spent much time playing games. He played on like Xbox 360 and stuff like that. Just different kinds of stuff. Grand Theft Auto. And so when I started streaming and I needed to like rebuild my computers, and then so like obviously I talked about all of it with him a ton, and so we planned builds for me and for him together, and we built them sort of together. And so now he has like this badass game PC and like a battle station that's probably even more epic than mine, honestly. It's amazing. I'll show you guys a picture in a minute if you're curious. And so he's really into Rocket League and the Division and now Wildlands, and it's mostly because of stream and the community and these games like that I think I found out about because of stream, that he's gotten into them and like loves them. He's put way more hours into Rocket League and Div than I even could dream of. So it's been cool. It's been cool to play those games with him. And like sometimes if I'm having a rough day or for whatever reason, I'll always like default back to one of those games and he'll play it with me. And like, it's just really nice to have that, I appreciate it a lot. It's been fun. It's been fun to watch him get back into it too.
Good stuff. And then for me, actually when Diz and I first met, I was basically more into socializing than video games at the time. I mean, I grew up with video games, but I ended up kind of taking a break for a few years after I like left college and was kind of more of a social butterfly than actually into video gaming. But then maybe about a year into our relationship, we actually met in Japan because we were both working there. But about a year into our relationship, I got a laptop, and then we started gaming again because he introduced me to Path of Exile. And at the time when I was in Japan, Diablo 3 also came out, which I was looking forward to. But we all know that Diablo 3 at launch was disgusting. We don't talk about that. So I ended up going to Path of Exile shortly after, and we got really into Path of Exile together. And we ran a guild together too, so it was really cool. And then we moved back here to the States, and as far as gaming together, we did a little bit of League of Legends. Like, we left Path of Exile and we ended up doing a bit of League of Legends, and then for like a summer. And then shortly after that, I discovered a game called Heroes of the Storm, which is pretty much the only game nowadays that I ever play off stream, and it's pretty much the only game that Diz and I play together. Just because he doesn't have time because of work and I don't have time because of stream, so it's just, you know, with things like MOBAs, you have a quick match, it's only like 20 minutes and you're done, you know, so you don't have to like devote a ton of time into it. And so that's what we've been doing. Other than that though, like before that, he's always been into gaming, and I was into gaming growing up, and he kind of reintroduced me into it. So yeah, that's kind of the background for him and myself. But I've noticed here that of all the responses we've given, all of our SOs were into video games to some degree and played with us to some degree, right? Mm-hmm. What advice do you have then for any streamers out there who live with a significant other who isn't interested in video games or Twitch, but they want to do streaming beyond a casual hobby? This is probably a difficult question.
I think it's a matter of balance, and I think I'm going to keep saying that word a lot. It's like if your SO isn't really into gaming, then, you know, and you make one of your priorities gaming, then you're going to have to put in the time and, you know, be mindful of what their priorities are, and keeping that balance so, you know, it doesn't look like you're leaving them behind because, you know, you've started on this career. But I guess I guess the question itself is so relative depending on the SO themselves, like whether they're like, I'm not interested in it, but I'm backing you, or I'm not interested in it and, you know, that just runs. I'm not interested in it. I don't like you doing it. You know, you have such a range. So balance would be my, like, the one word answer, but it's kind of like your mileage may vary.
I think it really, really, really depends on how solid your relationship is to begin with. I feel like it's definitely an easy thing to struggle with because streaming and Twitch can completely, like, honestly, it's a lifestyle, not a game. It's just like Eve in that way. It can completely consume you very easily because there's amazing people here and there's amazing things here, all sorts of different things, and you want to be a part of it. It's a huge community and you just want to be involved with it all the time. And if you exclude your significant other, or if they're just not into it and they sort of exclude themselves, the further you draw away from them, the more problems that could exist between you. So even if they're not interested, I think it's entirely possible to find a balance, but it's not easy. And so if you go into it sort of aware of that, which I think is what happened with us, like I definitely dove right in to Twitch, and I'm sure, you know, with you guys it's kind of the same, and had to sort of like realize that, you know, where are my priorities and how am I going to always make sure not to take this incredible person in my life for granted, and make sure that, you know, they know that they're always going to come first ultimately. Like, if, you know, if all else fails, Rob's the person that, you know, is my person, so I'm gonna find a way to make sure he knows that. And I think having that mindset changes your perspective and the other person's perspective. Like, if the other person knows that you're all in, I mean, that's what makes me feel secure in a relationship. In this relationship, it's the only one that I've ever felt secure in my life. And I think it goes both ways. If you both decide to be all in no matter what, and you stick with that, and you don't take the other person for granted, and you make sure that you balance it as much as you can, and they see that you're trying to balance it and that you put them first, then I think it doesn't matter whether they're into Twitch or into games or into whatever. As long as you find common ground, it can work.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I know that even like if we just exclude Twitch and streaming, like if you're into video games and your significant other is not, it's always gonna lead to some sort of clashing, from what I've heard, and from all the stories from like friends and things like that, where they're really into their significant other, their boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever at the time, and they want to make it work, but they don't want to give up, their interests, or their hobbies or what they enjoy doing. And like Brian said, balance is key. I feel like you have to kind of make compromises, I guess, and to find a way to do things that both of you enjoy. And like, yes, if you enjoy video gaming or streaming, you don't have to give it up, but just, manage your time better, maybe, I guess, would be the way to do it, and to make a schedule that works around spending time with your significant other outside of video gaming and outside of streaming. I think that would probably be the advice I would give.
Communication is great for that.
Yeah, I know Brian and myself both, I think, I am not sure about Spoonie and Snowlit, but I'm assuming to a degree as well, work our streams around the schedules of our significant other. Like, I know Brian and I have talked about this, and Rob and I have talked about this a lot. And laughed about it. Like, if he wasn't in my life, I would probably start stream at like between 8 p.m. and 12 a.m. I would be a full-on night owl. I'd probably like wake up at 4 p.m. or something, or 2, and then go run, and then like take my time, and then just be up at night. Like, that would be my natural schedule. And I realized right away from the very beginning of when I started stream, and when we were getting together, we were pretty together at that point, but that happened fast. And so I realized, I couldn't do that. I couldn't have that kind of schedule. Like, I could by Twitch means, but I couldn't by his schedule, his day, we would never see each other. And so I just was like, okay, I'm going to be a daytime streamer. And so you got to do what you got to do. Like Snowlit said, make compromises.
Does Spoonie have something to add?
Yeah, I actually, Tess, I did have to do that for a couple of months when Angry Trees was working during the daytime. I actually took half of my schedule and I started at like 7 o'clock in the morning, which those of you guys who don't know me as well, 7 a.m. is a time that I typically only see when I've accidentally stayed up late enough to see 7 a.m.
Amen.
And it was really tough, and I commend you guys that do that all the time to make amends with your significant other's schedule. I'm pretty lucky in that Angry Trees and I for a while had been like self-employed, and like right now he's writing and doing other self-employed stuff, so we kind of get a chance to set our own schedules. But I'm definitely not a morning person, so I'm thankful that I have the nighttime. But in regards to advice on if you have a significant other who doesn't like Twitch or maybe isn't interested in video games, I mean, I think that's kind of even comes across if your significant other does like video games and does spend time on Twitch. You can't make the mistake of not setting aside time for them. And it's really easy to do. Just to echo what Snowlit and Tess and Brian have already said, Twitch is this really amazing place where when you find it and you find the right people in it, you just don't want to leave it. It's kind of like diving into a giant pool. You swim around down there long enough and maybe you don't remember to come back. I mean, you like lose track of where the surface might be. When people go deep sea diving, there's actually a word for that. I forget the term, but like you lose track of like what direction you are. And so you have to remember to come back up and realize that there is still the rest of your life outside of the pool that is Twitch. And you have to make time for it. And, balance, again, like Brian said, balance is a really big part of that. And if you just make sure, even if it's like, I'm gonna make sure that I stream and do whatever I want to do until like X time, and then like even just like these couple of hours a day, like that's the time that like me and Angry Trees, like lately we like to watch TV shows, so we'll like dedicate a few hours a night to like, okay, like we're gonna binge watch some more of like Breaking Bad or something, and that's kind of what we've done to help with that. Because I mean, even though he does like video games, he's not really that big into Twitch. Like he might occasionally watch my stream, but that's all. So you just gotta make that time.
So, kind of branching off of something when we were discussing here, you know how the idea where if you're dating, you should have interest in your significant other's interests, right? How far do you think you should introduce or try to get your SO into Twitch? Not necessarily as a streamer, but get involved in it as one of your interests to learn more about you. Do you think that's something that's a good idea? If your SO is not into Twitch or video games?
I don't know. I mean, like one of the first streams that Jen and I watched together was Siglemic when he was still speedrunning Super Mario 64, and it was just something that we would, I put it up one day and we just started watching, and then he had an August like in 2014 where he would play every day trying to get a world record, and we had it up every day. And it was like she became like interested in like we both became interested in speedrunning through that. So it's like kind of, how would you convince your significant other to do anything? I guess would be like, exposing it to them and seeing what their reaction is. And I get there's so much content on Twitch. Maybe they like creative or the Power Rangers marathon. I don't know. It's there's just so much now than like 2 years ago that, being able to just throw it up on your Chromecast and having it up during a downtime could actually work well, just to get a sense of like, I wonder what they might like. And then, you get the questions and you're getting asked questions and stuff like that. It's always nice, like, they're warming up to it a little bit, It's got to find what they like.
Like, Rob doesn't really watch Twitch that much. He does watch YouTube of Division stuff and occasionally a little bit of Div Twitch stuff. But like, he's gotten into the community and all of that. And I just feel like it's kind of a natural progression, whether a person, like someone said in chat, and like you said, if you expose them to it, if you offer it up and sort of explain what it is, like if the person's never heard of it before, how do you explain Twitch to a person that's never heard of Twitch before? That's hard. And sort of explaining it in a way that makes sense to them and showing them that there's different sort of channels and different communities, maybe parts of your community, and then whether they like it or not is sort of up to them, and it's okay if they don't, it's as long as they love you and support you doing it, that's okay. I don't think you should ever force them into.
It should never be a necessity to go any farther than that unless they're willing to.
Yeah, I think that you want to have an open mind for the other person's interests, whatever they may be, right? And you want them to have an open mind, but if they try it and they don't like it, that's okay.
Good points. Anything else to add before we move along to the next question? No, we're good. All right. So we actually have kind of a side question, since we're talking about like, getting involved with our SOs, whether or not to get them into Twitch and stuff. This is a question from Mission Boy. What do you and your partners do for date nights then? Time away from screens to develop a deeper relationship. So you guys can game together. I mean, this is as comfortable as you want to be. We don't have to go into specific details, but like, do you guys like just go outside? Do you take a walk? Like, what do you do? Just simple stuff.
We binge shit. Like we will, we have our shows, where we like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Game of Thrones, any like the movies that like we're gonna be watching Beauty and the Beast this Friday. We have our nights out. We love to, we have our restaurants that we love going to. We trying to vary it beyond that. But yeah, that's usually what we do is just if we're spending time at home, we're usually watching stuff, whether it's politics or some like Marvel show. And if we go out, it's usually dinner, movies, Disneyland's like right next to us now since we're in Anaheim, so we're gonna be doing date nights at Disney hopefully. And yeah, just simple, but we like it. We like it that way. At least I do.
Anyone else want to chip in?
Trying to think what we do besides binging TV shows.
Yeah, I was like,
Everybody
we
binges.
watch TV. We do that.
Yeah, I mean, we do that every night. We sort of have a routine where, like, because sometimes his job requires him to work really late, and other times he's, totally free. And so we'll eat together. We'll, either go to dinner or sometimes he'll make me breakfast, which is amazing. Like in the summer when I wasn't streaming quite so early. Now I'm streaming at stupid o'clock. But we'll eat together and hang out and watch shows, or sometimes he plays darts. There's like a league here in our city, and so I'll go out to that, and we'll just hang out. I want to learn. I really do want to learn, but I have a gimpy wrist, so I can't use my dominant hand, because it's bad enough that I game on it all day, every day. If I tried to throw darts once, and it hurt really badly. So I'm gonna try someday when I can find the time to practice to learn with my left hand. But we need a house and like a dartboard that's not going to, potentially kill our neighbors or drive them crazy before that can happen. So, someday.
Really cool. For me, like, I was trying to think, like, what do Diz and I do? And we don't actually do enough nowadays away from like gaming or watching shows and movies together. But back when Pokemon Go was a huge thing, we went out a lot. And we would go just wandering around places, walking together. And that was a way to spend time together too. And I really enjoyed that. Sadly, we don't do that anymore because our interest in Pokemon Go just disappeared. But I don't know, just like anytime he and I just go out, I think, even if we don't do anything other than go get food, it's always just something I really treasure, because I realize I do spend a lot of time behind a computer screen, and it's something I would like to work a little bit better on, and so yeah, that's it for me.
The other thing I was gonna say is, so and this is a failing of mine that I would like to work on future years. The last couple of years we met over skiing things. And the last couple of years I've gone one day each year, and that's totally ridiculous. Like, that hasn't happened in my whole life. And so my family is like up in arms, and I feel bad because Rob, I mean, his schedule prevents it a lot of the time too, but we could have made more time than we have. And that's largely my fault. I've also taken up running, and he's been super, super supportive of that. But it prevents us from doing things that we used to do on kind of date days. Like, we really call them date nights because it kind of takes a whole day. That's a big reason why we haven't done it so much, is because it takes a whole day to get up there and ski and then come back, which is like 2.5 hours. So we're actually going on our first ski trip, like this coming weekend. And I'll be streaming while I'm out there, but I'm definitely going to be streaming a lot less. And here's the thing. I said earlier, you really can't take things for granted, right? Things that you care about, people that you care about. And so I care about the stream, and I don't take it for granted. I don't think I can take a whole week off, but I'm definitely gonna cut my hours and probably take a few days off in there and really spend the time with Rob and my family while I'm out there, because we haven't gotten to do that in a really long time. So it would be good. Make time. That's the biggest thing. Carve it out. Find a way.
For sure.
I think with related to the interest things, one big one I'm forgetting, it's like the 800-pound gorilla in the room, is having a shared interest that's separate from both of your individual interests. For Jen and I, that's Japan and Japan stuff, and something we've done. We've been able to, because we had the means to do so, was we've gone to Japan as a yearly trip every year for the past decade. And it's didn't really notice how much, like, since Jen was in Japan, that was the first time she'd been in Japan without me. And she was telling me how she would go to the usual places and be like, she wouldn't want to go in because I wasn't there. She wouldn't want me to miss out on stuff. But just our love of that and everything, of J-pop idols and other things like that, that's something that's shared and has bled sort of into both our individual likes. So, I'll play J-pop on stream even though nobody knows what's going on. And, it's just that something that a fandom that we can both share, that's just ours. And I think that's, finding something like that, I think is extremely important if you can. It doesn't have to be gaming. It could be literally anything else. And travel is important too. To Tess saying that about skiing is what brought that up. I'm like, oh yeah, I do this yearly. And it's a big thing. It's a big thing it's like a second home to us. So it's a big part of our lives.
Yeah. I mean, for me, other than I agree with obviously what everybody else said, but for me, yeah, we binge watch TV shows, we play video games. Something that Angry Trees and I used to do back when we played Magic the Gathering more often was we would go on basically what I like to call adventures, where sometimes we'll just be sitting around at home and suddenly one of us will think of something fun to do. Like when we used to play Magic, it was like, hey, do you want to go hunt for such and such really rare set of cards? Okay. And back when we lived in Texas, we would make this little loop around and it would take us probably 2.5 hours to drive around the circle to all these different stores hunting for this one specific set of Magic cards. Which sounds probably really silly, but we've always kind of enjoyed doing stuff like that. Apparently Ollie agrees.
So this is another thing that I don't know if anyone's asked about this or brought it up, but sharing pets, it's a thing.
Yes.
It's a thing. And I know Snowlit and Diz don't have them yet, but they're planning on it. And that's already a thing. And for me and Rob, when we actually moved into the same apartment, Mika loved him from the very beginning and he loved her. So that was good. And the lizards are cool. And actually I got Toothless, the lizard that's in this thing behind me, when I was with Rob already. And Mika and Gingy, our baby cat, when we finally moved in together, since we weren't paying for 2 apartments, because even though we've been staying at my apartment, we were still paying for 2 apartments. We're like, okay, we're gonna adopt a kitten, and that was an adventure. But it was a great adventure to go on together, and having a pet and having even just spending time with between ourselves with our pets is great. We're both really into our pets, especially the cats. They're hilarious and they have such personalities. And I think when people ask about date nights, sometimes it is just us vegging and playing with our pets and just snuggling them and stuff like that. So I think that's definitely a thing. It feels like it's our family really. So
I wish I could remember what that felt like. I think Jen and I we have 5. Only our eldest is Jen's. The other 4 we got together, and I feel like we're both 2 typical disappointed Asian parents when it comes to our cats. Because I'll just look at that. Everybody, this is Willow down here, and she knows exactly where to put herself. That she's on camera, by the way. And everybody's like, she is the cutest thing ever. I just look at her, I'm just so disappointed. And we're both like that. We're both it's if these were actual kids, we'd probably be sending them all to therapy because of the way that's just the dynamic we have with our cats. And we're just shaking our heads all the time at these guys. But yeah, it's a different experience. But they're all we've had them all for at least 12 to 13 years. So we're running a senior home pretty much. Running a senior home for felines.
I'll probably end up consulting you guys, because Diz and I have decided that when I hit 1,000 Twitch subs, we're adopting a cat together. So I don't know what it's like, because we've never, in our 5+ years together, we've never had a pet together. So I think it's a huge step. But I think that's a great way to deepen your relationship. you know, outside of gaming and outside of Twitch is definitely, I mean, I'm not saying to adopt pets if you're not ready for them. Like, definitely don't do it if you can't take care of them. But I think that's a great way to deepen your relationship.
I mean, I think you're right that you can't count on a pet to make things better or if things are going wrong. It's the same way that like a kid doesn't make things better. It adds stress. It actually does add stress when you adopt a pet, especially a baby pet. You know, if you adopt, even when you adopt an older pet, like it depends on whether or not they have issues.
Yeah.
But you know, it's stressful because you're basically taking on a living thing that depends on you completely for everything. And when it's a little one, it will get into everything. And you know, it might, like with Gingy, we had all these issues with her and Mika and her sort of causing problems for Mika. But we loved her, and you know, obviously we just needed to find a way to make it work, and we worked together on that. But you know, we were sort of both, I don't know, we worked together well on that, and so it was fine. I think if you don't work together well, it's not a good idea to get a pet. If you do get a pet, be prepared for one of you to keep it if things don't work out. You know, if you're not sure that you two might work out is the thing. So, you know, it's like having kids. Kids do not make things easier. They definitely don't. It's more responsibility. But if your relationship is solid, then having a small furry monster that, you know, drives you both crazy is great to share.
Yeah, for sure. So there you go. We actually have a question here coming in from Siri. It's a slight change of topic, but she's asking, my boyfriend doesn't watch Twitch. He's watched my stream a few times, but he feels like a quote fanboy watching me, which I get. How do you make your SO feel involved without just being another fan while streaming?
I don't know when this kind of goes into one of the later questions, but like the way I talk about Jen on cast, it's like, you know, she's like the cast mother, you know, if I'm the dad, she's the mom. It's like they have a high regard of it's creating, I guess, respect for that particular person. But it's only because since I include her like you know, as much as I can in stories and stuff like that, like when she actually does come into the cast, you know, people are like automatically like, oh, it's Jen, you know, and they say hi and everything. And Jen doesn't really participate that much in chat and things like that, but when she does appear, she doesn't feel like, I would think, never asked her the question, but you know, just another person in chat, because I don't treat her like that. It's like, oh look, it's Jen, everybody say hi to Jen. And when she's appeared on cast, like people have developed that rapport with her that's vastly different than anybody else that I would either bring on cast or is in the chat.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with Brian. I think part of that's like letting the rest of your community know, like, hey, this is my significant other. Like once you've kind of established that that's who they are, and people, I don't know, people are kind of excited, I guess, also, in my opinion. They seem to be excited whenever your significant others show up, because it's kind of like another part of your life they get to see.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like Angry Trees doesn't really turn up in chat very much either, but like people will occasionally like see his hand go by Ollie's camera, will be like, oh my gosh, it's Angry Trees' hand.
I think that was one of the most, like, the way you guys have handled your SOs. Like I remember, like when I didn't know what Diz looked like, and that was like a big thing. Like I didn't know what Angry Trees looked like, and I think you've had Rob on stream a couple of times.
So not really.
Really? Okay. Yeah. So
he's literally, okay. So there was one time when I was unboxing a computer from Lenovo, and I couldn't do it. Because it was a giant heavy thing, and like I couldn't get the thing out of the box without.
That's what it was. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, so he like showed up and like walked past, and then once at a convention too, I was like, please, and I pulled him down, and I kind of felt bad for doing that. But he was cool with it. He let me do it. I couldn't do it if he didn't let me do it. So it's kind of a running joke that Rob is a Rob bot, that like he's not real. He just like is a robot that comes and brings me food. There'll be an arm. There's literally been an arm like showing up on camera with like a plate of sushi or whatever, and it just hands me food or drink and then goes away. It's amazing.
I just love the way that's handled. It's funny, like when you're, because I guess that's the end of and one of the answers to the question is like your SO takes on this sort of ethereal quality that if they see any part or hear them at all, the chat just goes nuts. And you gotta, they're not being included in the stream, so it's not, I believe it wouldn't really be a source of discomfort. Again, your mileage may vary, but it just, the chat learns, and then they can, hopefully they'll, the person, the SO will feel the same way, that they're not just another person. Yeah,
you have the way you present them is the most important thing. So like if your SO is in chat, you have to be like, hey, like you just have to present them to your community in such a way that they're like you, basically. They're another member of your cast on your show, basically, right? Like Gingy Butt is a member of my cast on my show. But Rob is obviously much more so than her, but he just becomes another sort of personality for them to view as that, I guess.
Yeah, I agree with everything that's been said so far. My community knows who Diz is. I don't make it a secret or anything like that. I know some streamers are always worried about whether or not to tell their communities that they're taken or that they have an SO or to even like mention their names or anything like that. Diz, I would suggest if you're not comfortable like telling your community much about your significant other, to make up an alias for them. That's what Diz is. Diz is not Diz's real name. So, it's also to protect him, but it's more of a like, like everybody said so far, whenever the chat even sees or hears your significant other, they get so excited. Like Scyther, one of my mods, like he can hear the door when it opens when Diz gets home from work, and he immediately goes, "Hi Diz," and it's in all capital letters, and he's so excited. And like the people just get so excited to know, like Spoonie was saying, another part of your life and somebody who's really important to you. So yes, like everybody's already, I'm gonna echo what everybody said, to make it known to your community that your SO is more than just a viewer. If they watch your stream, and to make them feel important, mention like, yeah, that's my boyfriend / girlfriend / fiance / wife, whatever, husband, etc. And point out, even if they don't have a name that, or like a Twitch name that is what their alias is, if that makes sense, because everybody calls him Diz, like DYZ, even though it's his Twitch name is not actually that. But people have come to recognize his non like Diz name, because he actually has a Diz name now because he made a new account. But like, people recognize that. Like, get your community familiar. That's my suggestion. Get them familiar with who your SO is. If they do come into your chat and say something, point it out. Like, make them feel special. Because they are, right? They're special to you, and you don't want to downplay that, in my opinion, because that could lead to clashes. That could lead to disagreements. Like, hey, I came into your chat, but you didn't notice me. Like, it's something you don't want to turn into a source of issues or problems. So, hopefully that helps with that question. But anything else to add before we move on? No? We good? Okay, so, this next question, we already started talking about it, but I'm going to ask for, like, I guess a different side of it. Does your significant other regularly participate in your stream, as in on cast, not just in your chat? And if not, has your significant other ever participated in your stream in the past? And if so, in what fashion? This is not just, like, being in your chat and talking. Or
I guess
modding.
I'm the one that can say yes to this question. Like the whole Avalon, well, I guess our first stream, and Siri had brought it up before, was when I first streamed on Twitch, it was Jen and I playing New Super Mario Brothers, and then she found us when we were playing Rayman Legends the next day. Later on, when I started streaming more often, we would have Avalon Star After Dark, and that would be Jen, myself, and a lot of wine, and you don't know Jack. and we started doing that often. And she started appearing on the stream, and we still do it. Like, we do it for like special events and stuff like that. We've done it for an anniversary, for Halloween. Usually we do podcasts every other Saturday. So if everybody wants to play a game, then she'll be included in those as well. So yeah, people definitely know like what Jen looks like, and that she's been on the stream, and the moments we've had and things of that nature. Yeah.
Some people might know what Angry Trees looks like. He actually has been on stream before.
I remember that.
Most of the time, you'll just like see his arm or something. Like, somebody was mentioning he's pied me in the face a couple of times for charity or other things. But one time, I actually got Angry Trees on stream, and I put makeup on him, and that was really fun.
Charity does so much. Like, Jen, I think I had a $75 reward when we were fundraising for a fan party where people could donate for her slapping me in the face. And we had like 3 or 4 people. Was it? You remember how many times you slapped me in the face? Was it 3 or 2? Yeah, 3. Yeah, and she also was paid to pour ice down my back, and like all when I least expected it. And that's Jen's really good at surprise. So yeah. Anyway, that just reminded me. The pieing in the face reminded me of that story.
Yeah.
I haven't been pied in the face. It seems like everybody else in the Chillest has been pied in the face, and I haven't. So
you saying
no,
that?
okay,
No way, man. Never happening.
When Angry Trees pied me, I was looking for music and I got some, and then like 5 seconds later, he's like, "Okay, close your eyes. I'm not gonna tell you, and I'm gonna pie you in the face." And like, I knew it was coming. I knew he was totally gonna do it on 3, but then he did it on 4 instead, and it scared the crap out of me.
I've actually suggested to Tess to have Rob do it, but she doesn't want to do it.
It's not that bad if you do it at the end of the
No,
stream.
I'm sorry. My skin is enough of a disaster. Thank you. No. Never happening.
What is Pie Day?
I will wear a giant ducky costume, and in fact, I have promised my stream I will do this. One of my subs sent me a ducky onesie with ducky slippers. I will wear that, and you can make fun of me all you want, and I would be totally happy to do that. But I'm not eating weird shit, and I can curse on the stream, right? I'm not eating weird shit. I'm not putting any weird shit on my skin. I'm sorry, it's not happening ever. Sorry.
Tess and I
No.
agree on a lot.
Not ever. Some things that I just will not do.
Yeah, well, for me, Diz has been on my stream. He has been on my cast multiple times now. He's helped me with event streams and stuff. And the first time he did like a sit beside me on stream, play games with me on stream reveal was... I don't remember if it was because we hit a certain sub goal. I honestly can't remember at this point because it was like early last year. Or maybe even the year. No, it was not the year before. It was early last year. So it might have been when we hit 500 subs, but I can't remember at this point. But at that point, we were playing Salt and Sanctuary together on stream because you can co-op that, which is really cool. But after that, he's been on there maybe 1 or 2 more times where we did Salt and Sanctuary again. And then like Spoonie, we've had multiple pie of the face deals that Diz has done to me. What else has he done?
There's also Desire.
And Desire, yeah. Actually, yeah, it was a tip goal. And I had this wig. It's like an ombre. Is it ombre? Is that how you say it? Ombre, yeah. It's like it's a gorgeous wig. I've never worn it yet. I got it for the stream, but I've never worn it. And we decided to give it to Diz when we hit a certain tip goal. And then another tip goal further above was for me to do his makeup on stream, and he became Desire while wearing the wig. Because he's Diz, you know? So he was Desire, and that was his, I guess his stage name, more or less. But that was hilarious. And then actually recently, he was on the stream with me last week, because we played Bloodborne, and I was struggling so hard with Ludwig, the DLC boss, and I actually introduced Bloodborne to Diz, and he sat with me on stream, on camera, and tried it a couple times, and then I guess he was my good luck charm because I beat Ludwig right after that. After like 45 total deaths. It's kind of insane. But yeah, it's he's definitely participated multiple times. Initially, when I proposed to him to be on camera, like way back when, he didn't like it. He's not much of a camera person. He doesn't really like being on camera or being watched. He's a little bit self-conscious. But he's become over time more open to it, and he even streams now. So with webcams, so he's getting more into it. But I guess that would be a big extent of him participating in my cast.
Streamed?
He does now. He only does it once a week. But
That's so cool.
Is he still trying to practice Mega Man? Because I think
No,
he
he
challenged me at
hasn't.
PAX South.
he hasn't yet. He just finished Resident Evil 7 on stream.
Ah.
So he's done maybe 2 or 3 at this point, and it's only on Sundays. So it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Anything else to add before we move on?
Just that's really cool, and I wish I'd known because I have to stop by.
Oh, no worries. I'll let you guys know. He actually, like I said,
what's
he
his
made a
Twitch
new name.
account?
Yeah, he made a new name. Diz Assembles, because he's trying to do creative with it.
Oh, cool.
So-
That's really neat. That's
Yeah.
really,
God,
really
all the PTSD. PTSD.
Oh, PTS Diz.
no.
Yeah, the puns. The puns.
The puns of PAX South. Anyway.
really
So-
like that. That's awesome.
Isn't it
That's
great?
really awesome. Yeah, seriously. That's really badass.
So the next question is, does or did your significant other ever stream? And if so, how often?
Mine used to stream. Angry Trees streamed in creative like maybe 2 or 3 times a week. Sporadically, he'd do it for like a month and then quit for a while and come back for a month doing painting, oil painting specifically. And I think he's streamed World of Warcraft a couple of times here and there, but usually after a while he like drops it, and who knows. Next time we go to TwitchCon, he'll probably pick up streaming again.
Food's done. Sorry, Ollie.
Is he making me pizza? He better be. Ollie, you better be making me pizza.
If Jenna said if she ever was going to stream, the closest she'd get was doing Para, playing Para Paradise. If you don't know what that is, it's pretty much a Japanese form of hand. Did you say hand dancing? Hand.
I love that he's asking her stuff.
Wait, what? Hand focused dancing. Arm movement focused dancing. If you've heard of Para. If you haven't seen it, then you should look it up. But there's a game made by Konami, the makers of DDR, that it's called Para Paradise. So if she ever were to stream, she'd stream that. She said that on multiple occasions.
It's really cool. Rob doesn't stream. People ask me all the time. He plays games with us though. Like he'll play. I mean, it's the games that he loves, which is great. I love all of them. I'm really bad at Rocket League. Like I wish I was better because I feel like I would play that with him and the community all the time. I am terrible. I am god awful at Rocket League. It's one game that I think suffers more than Bloodborne and Dark Souls from not being able to use a controller really. And I just don't have enough practice in it, so I suck. And so every now and then I'll play it with them, and I'm just like, this is so fun. I wish I was better. And then I hang my head. But he plays like Div and Wildlands and we played some other stuff together. DVD, I think, and a few other things. And it's always fun. And he's actually playing with some community members right now, because a lot of my community gets really into these games, and especially those community focused games. He ends up sticking with the game because I'm a variety caster and I always sort of move on to the next thing eventually. He ends up sticking with the game and playing with the community even when I can't anymore really, or don't anymore for whatever reason. So it's actually really cool that has happened that way. If you ever had any interest in streaming, I think he'd be amazing at it, but I don't think he does. So
I say the same thing about Jen.
Oh, that's awesome. So moving on then, does your significant other have a full-time job? Is your significant other at home during the time that you stream? And how has this affected your stream schedule? I know we addressed it a little bit, but there are times that maybe when like your SO has a day off, or they happen to be home, or something changes, do you adjust accordingly?
Yeah, Rob's schedule is actually kind of like a teacher's schedule. He's not a teacher, but it's kind of like that. So like he has a lot more time during the day in the summer than he does during the winter. And during the winter, his hours are super long, actually. But when he's got a day off, or in the summer especially, my stream. So last year, my stream kind of shifted. It started out being at noon, and then it kind of shifted to like 3, and then it kind of shifted to like 6 by the end of the summer, and it was bad because 6 back to like 11 and now 9 has been a little rough. I really need to just like stick with my schedule, but it's just always really nice to have him hang out, even if he's totally playing something different. It's just nice. Our desks are like face each other, so like my monitors are here and he's right this way of me, but his monitors face the opposite direction, like the way that I'm sitting, so we can see each other. So like even if he's got a headset on, I can be like, hey, and we'll talk to each other and stuff like that. And I don't know, it's just it's nice having him home, even if we're playing different things. It's just always nice to have him around. So I don't know, I really shouldn't change my schedule when he has more time. I do, because such is life. But I shouldn't. I'm gonna try to be better about sticking to my schedule this year if I can. It's hard.
I mean, I try to coincide my days off with when Angry Trees isn't working or doing anything if I can, because it's nice to have a whole day where, it's like, well, we could kind of do whatever we want, I guess. We could sit at home and just play video games, or we could go out. Yeah.
I do move my days off a lot too, actually, especially during the winter when he's really busy at work. And so like he'll be working like 10 to 9 or 10 to 11 or something stupid like that. And then he'll have like one day off, and I'll be like, oh, I'm taking, my usual day off is Thursday. And then Rob will have Monday off. He'll be like, oh, sorry, this week it's Monday.
So Jen and I have worked from home for as long as I can remember. I've worked from home for about 8 years. Even when I was working for Twitch, I'd work from home. So like she's always here. I'm always here. She has a full-time job. So when I was trying to balance Twitch, working at Twitch, streaming at night, and then Jen working during the day, that failed horribly. So when I decided to, I had to go hiatus for a while, then it started coming back. But when I went full time, it actually we agreed that I would work, because this is my job. I would work when she worked, and so we both start at 10:30, 11, and we both end at around 6. So I don't know. We've just been in this sort of, I guess the difference between this and what I used to do, like web design, you're not designing for 8 hours. You have like little bits of creativity moments, and then you have a lot of just browsing Twitch, especially when you're working for Twitch. It was just a lot of watching people during the day, which is how I found this group. And when I started streaming before I get to that, so I would, Jen and I would have conversations. I'd go down and visit her, and we'd talk, and then we get back to work and things like that. It was like kind of a slap in the face when I started streaming, because it's 6 to 7 hours of this, and for a while it was kind of a shock to both of us, and that I couldn't, like, for me it was a shock to my system, because I couldn't take a break unless it was like 5 or 6 minutes here and there, but I didn't have the interaction that I used to. Like I almost like took that for granted now that I didn't have it anymore. So like we've gotten to the point now that I will ask Jen a question because she's right there. In our last apartment, it was harder because I was on the second floor, so I wouldn't be able to see her walking around. I would just shout over the balcony, and get an answer, she would shout back. Now it's a lot more like our apartment 2 apartments ago, where we had a very similar arrangement to Tess. and yeah, so it's we have this kind of agreement that like that she can talk to me whenever. It's like I'm not trying, like I'm not the most professional of casts, you know. I try to look it, but at the same time it's like, no, if like a cat peed on the ground, I'm gonna go, you know, help her clean it, or if I need to take care of something, I'll be like, I'll be right back. Or if she needs to ask me a question, she'll ask her, or if I, you know, like what's just happened. So we have this sort of like, she takes priority over the cast whenever it's necessary, and that's sort of where we've evolved, you know, throughout the couple of years that I've been doing this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same way with Angry Trees. Like, he sometimes will come in from over here in this direction in the hallway and like ask me a question. He'll usually, you know, be like, "Hey," like, because I might be in the middle of a sentence. But if you ever see me turn this way and look up, I'm not talking to Ollie. I'm actually talking to Angry Trees, because he might say like, "Hey, like, do you want to order a pizza?" Or like, "Oh, I'm gonna go here, do this," and so I like to. I'm the same way. I like to keep that open for him, so that way he doesn't feel like, for, you know, 6 hours a day, I'm just completely excluded from him, like not allowed to talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that helps a lot. If he ever has something he just like wants to share with me right now, he doesn't feel like, I'm like, well, okay, I guess I'll just sit on my hands here and wait a while until she takes a break or is done.
Does he respond to you like if you're talking to your chat, and does he respond at all? Because Jen will do that. Like if I'm talking about a subject, and then she'll like perk up and hear it, and then she'll like reply to it.
Yeah, he's done that
and
before.
Then I'll have a conversation
too.
with her a little bit until the chat, and then be the intermediary for a little bit. But okay.
Yeah, one time my chat told me about like, oh, like there's some new Magic the Gathering set coming out that I was like really excited about, and I guess Angry Trees heard me because it was Modern Masters, one that we both really liked before, and so he started talking in chat too.
Yeah. In my case, so Diz works a standard job, but his schedule changed recently to where he works 4 days a week, but he works like 11-hour shifts. So it's pretty rough, but he prefers it because he gets a 3-day weekend every weekend. So it works out for him, but that does mean that a lot of the time he's not home. So that's why I'm streaming. He doesn't get home till maybe like an hour and a half before I end usually. And then if he decides to go to the gym after work, he gets home basically when I'm supposed to end. So it kind of works out. But usually, like, if he gets an extra day off, like, he gets Fridays off. So that's how he has a 3-day weekend. And of course he has Saturday and Sunday, but I still stream. So I've tried over the past, I guess, year or two to change my schedule in a way that works better to spend more time with him. But you know, there are times that I still have to stream whenever he's home, and he doesn't mind so much, I think, because he likes to have like his own like me time. He does his own thing and just watches shows and does whatever. And the cool thing is that we live in a 2-bedroom apartment, so my setup is basically in the living room, and his setup, he has the second bedroom, so he gets to have his own little space. So we're not actually like, I'm not in his face all the time when I stream, because I've been told that I kind of shout a lot and get really loud when I stream. I don't know if you guys get that too from your SOs, but I talk really loud apparently, and so he likes to kind of have his own space sometimes from that, which I don't think it's a bad thing. You know, if your SO needs to be a little bit away from you when they're home, that's okay too. But I don't know if you guys want to touch on that.
Oh, no.
I couldn't
I think
handle
Jen's
that.
used
It's
to
not
it.
even funny.
Yeah,
Like,
I couldn't handle that. I would miss him. I would feel like the separation was there was too much. You know.
That's how I felt when we were
honestly.
on 2 floors. Is that the
Yeah.
separation was? I would come home. I would like, that was my office, and I would come down the stairs and then see her. But yeah, now it's like,
It's relatively rare that Rob will need to tell me something like while I'm live. Sometimes, you know, but I'll always hear him. And the other thing is, I don't wear a headset most of the time when I'm streaming. Even when I do, I only wear one earbud. Like, I never wear both, so I can hear what's going on around me. So if he walks in the room, I always hear him. Or if he walks by the room, I always hear him. And he actually wears a headset, but I had trouble when Rob has gone through like a lot of different headsets because he's an audiophile. I'm not, obviously, but he is. And so a few of the headsets he tried were like closed. I don't know if you guys know the difference between that. There's like open headsets and closed headsets. So open headsets, you can still hear what's going on around you a little bit. Closed headsets, you can't hear anything at all. And like, I could not deal with the closed headsets because I like really have to work to get his attention, and it bothered me. And I felt bad about that, but it did. I just couldn't do it because I hate not having that connection, you know, because we're not always together. And you know, when we are, it's nice. It's nice to be able to, you know.
I mean, I think, hon, you're used to me, right, Jen? You're used to my loudness, right?
I mean, I think
she doesn't think of it as loudness. That's what she says. I mean, but I mean, as I've gotten more into this, I think I've, at least for me, because I'm very self-conscious. Like when I act a little bit weird, I'm like, oh my god, what is Jen thinking right now? She's probably shaking her head. But no, it's never. She's always like she's always been very accepting of it, my silly side, and yeah. So
Ingrid, she's the same way. I'm just a giant goofball, so with a lot of people, I might be that way. Like, oh gosh, like what they probably think I'm crazy or something. But Ingrid, she's just like, yeah, that's just Spoonie. But she's just wiggling her arms again on stream while wearing sunglasses. It's fine.
Well, this actually leads to a question here from a viewer, from the audience, from Didar. Are you less talkative with your SO because you spend so much of the day talking already on stream? No?
Mm-mm. It's a completely different world. It's like I talk to you guys, I talk to everybody for 7 hours, and it's like, I mean, sometimes we're both kind of cooling down since we end at the same time. We'll just kind of watch TV and stuff. We'll ask about each other's days and then kind of react to things that we're watching and whatever. But no, it's not like that. Like my voice is spent. I'm not going to talk to you now. I want to talk to like, how was your day, hun? And things like that.
Yeah. I mean, we'll definitely go through like a wind down from whenever our collective day ends, right? So like no matter what, even if it's been a few hours since my stream, because usually like, especially in the winter, by the time that Rob gets home, I've, you know, finished streaming and gone for a run, or I might just be going out for a run, might come back right then or something. But I'll just tell him about my day and he'll tell me about his day, and then we'll, you know, get dinner ready, and then we'll sit on the couch and we'll like watch stuff, and definitely eventually we both kind of get quiet and then pass out with cats on our faces, but you know, there's definitely, I feel like I talk to him just as much as I talk to stream. I'll tell him about what happened in, you know, throughout the day, like whatever crazy thing happened on stream in the game, I'll tell him about the game. I'll just talk about stuff and I'll ask him about his day and stuff like that. So it's different than talking to stream for sure.
Yeah,
it's like a whole different.
Yeah, I feel like if I'm more quiet, it's just that I'm not as talkative in real life as I am on stream. Because, you know, that's for me, part of streaming is being continually engaging, commenting on stuff, talking to the community. So when I'm done streaming, it's like, well, Angry Cheese and I will talk and we'll be our usual selves, but I'm not going to be talking, you know, at 800 words per minute or something.
Exactly. We actually kind of backpedaling a little bit. Mad Mike Gamer asked, when it comes to streaming when your SO is home, are you ever unhappy? Or are they ever unhappy, with the noise you make while streaming, or do they not hear or don't mind it? So we kind of address this a little bit. I don't know if any of you guys wanted to add anything more to that.
Nope. I feel bad because I think I'm not loud, but like I said, I don't wear headsets. So like my music is loud and my game is loud, but he wears a headset and it's enough, I guess, enough of a buffer. So I guess it's okay, you know, most of the time.
Okay then, good. So we do have more viewer questions, but we'll probably save them for the ending Q&A. We're gonna move along now then to behind the scenes. So whether your significant other participates in your stream on the front end, does he or she get involved in the behind the scenes of your channel? In other words, does your significant other help with any setup, any planning, any organization of your channel?
Keeps me sane. Pretty much, yeah. I mean, especially at conventions. I'm bad at conventions, and Rob will come with me and like help me, and it's amazing. And just with tech issues, most of the time I'm my own tech support. But like when it comes to when it came to building my systems, now I'm on sponsored systems sponsored by Lenovo, but I've actually struggled a little bit with those, and he's helped me. Him and another friend who's a streamer helped me figure out my latest sort of the gremlin that was Dolby Digital plus whatever. Oh God, it was the worst thing in the world. But anyway, he helps me sort of troubleshoot stuff sometimes. And like anytime anything is going on, I talk to him about it. It doesn't even matter if it's something technical or what it's related to. Anytime I'm doing something on stream, if I'm updating emotes, I'll ask his opinion. Even though he like doesn't use them, but I still ask his opinion because I appreciate his like sort of aesthetic thoughts. And I don't know, it's my life, right? The stream is my life, and he's a huge part of it, and so I just bounce everything off of him. So
it's the same way for Jen. Like we're both people that like to do a lot of things ourselves, so we usually do that. But like Jen's kind of what keeps me sane, the rock of the relationship, so of this whole thing. So it's like, if I have ideas that I need to to present to her just to see if they're sane, like she'll always be open to talking with me about it. And she's warmed up to that like more as I've been getting more serious with this. And she's brought up ideas, and we've done, and she's becoming like more involved in it. But yeah, pretty much what Tess said. But as I keep going through this journey, she's getting more a little bit more active in helping out with ideas and such. Just keeping me sane.
Yeah, pretty much the same. Angry Trees and I actually used to write together, so I enjoy bouncing ideas off of him anyway. So that's something we've always kind of done for each other. He also helps keep me sane. He's definitely the rock in our relationship too. Actually, Angry Trees also helped me set up my green screen, because since we used to do film stuff, he was already used to setting up good lighting. And like if I have audio issues, he'll usually help me out with something like that. He's very much a required part of the background of the stream.
Good stuff. In my case, Diz actually doesn't really get that involved with me as far as the stream goes. If there's ever like a tech issue, then I do consult him, but that thankfully hasn't been much of an issue in general. But I mean, otherwise, like when it comes to planning events, sometimes I'll bounce ideas off of him for that. But for the most part, he actually doesn't get really involved at all with like the planning and the behind the scenes for me. Which I feel like I should get him more involved in at times, but other than just bouncing ideas for events and things like that, things just kind of go pretty smoothly for the most part. So I don't feel like, thankfully I don't have as much like, or I don't have to deal with tech issues at any time or anything like that. But I think it's definitely really good to get them involved, just to have them see the process, and like the thing that I think with the way Diz views streaming and me is that it's my thing. Like he knows it's my job and my way of making money and everything, and making a living. And I think I want to say he's interested, but he's also, I think, partially intimidated, because with OBS and streaming, I actually know more about that than he does. And usually he knows more about everything tech, everything IT, information, computers, all of that. He knows way more than I do. But as far as using OBS and how streaming works and all the, setting everything up, I know more than he does. And I think a little bit of intimidation is a factor there, which I think is interesting to think about. But yeah, that would be in my case. But we kind of answered the next question a little bit. But do you chat often with your significant other about your stream or stream plans? And how often do you seek input or advice from your significant other towards the development of your channel? Everybody kind of thinking?
Yeah, just Jen and I have we've actually tried building products together and stuff when I was still the designing and developing full time. So like we have this rapport. We've put on events together, fan parties and stuff. So it's like, whenever I come to her with an idea, it's just like so natural at this point. But we've had that rapport over the past 7-8 years when we started to like do these things. Like we always used to say earlier in our relationship that like she always wanted to do things, but I kind of gave her the ambition to do so. And so we developed that because we would encourage each other to start these events and go forward with them. So it's just kind of carried on from there.
Anyone else consult or get advice?
I mean, yeah, but it's just like everything else. Like anytime I do anything, if I usually I'll do anything that I do. If it's like when I started doing healthathons, for example, that was a big sort of departure from what I had done in the past, because Rob was there for all of my 24-hour streams, all of my like long streams, and he saw what I went through both during and after, and I mean, he saw how amazing they were, but he also saw what I went through and how I struggled. And I think when I sort of came up with the whole healthathon thing, he was super, super, super supportive and was like, yeah, that's a great idea. It'll work. Like, and like everything else, I bounced ideas off of him. So he helped me sort of, I don't know. He's like a sanity check. Like if I come up with something crazy, which is everything that I come up with, I'll be like, hey, Rob, is this crazy? And he's like, yeah, but you should do it. Or no, that's a little too far or something like that, but most of the time it's like, yeah, but you should do it. It's just, he's just the person that I talk to about everything, whether it has to do with streaming or running or cats or lizards or anything in life, how I deal with my family, there's been stuff like that. Just everything in life. He's my partner.
Well, then moving on, because I think that's the same for pretty much all of us as far as like talking and consulting and just getting advice from our SO. So then what is your advice based on your experiences for whether to get one's significant other involved in your stream personally? As far as being on cast or doing,
Yeah. I think it's the same answer as what we had said earlier when it came to like introducing them to Twitch. It's like, you start with the benign stuff, like, hey, should I do this for the stream? Or stuff that doesn't require, that they can get into, that they can sink their teeth into without having to like jump in your shoes for a sec. And then if they show interest in that, going forward with it.
I mean, I think I would never ask more, really. Like I feel like I already ask so much and get so much support that it would be like my stream has always really wanted to see Rob on stream, and they always talk about it and they always ask about it, and I'm always like, I'm just not gonna ask him to do that. If he doesn't feel comfortable, that's okay with me. He's already done so much, and I wouldn't be here able to do this if I didn't have his support. I don't think I would be streaming today if I didn't have Rob in my life. So I just can't even, whatever he's comfortable with, I'm good with.
Anything else to add before we move along? All right, so we're gonna move on to the ups. What is one memory you have of sharing a positive or happy or accomplished moment with your significant other involving your stream? If you don't mind, please share it with us. This can be when you hit a milestone and how did you guys celebrate? You know, things like that.
Getting partnered.
Oh yeah.
Pretty recently on my mind. Whenever I got partnered, I actually got the email. I think it was at like 3:30 or something, and Angry Trees was in the other room writing. So I very nervously waited for him to finish because I knew that if I interrupted him, then he wouldn't be able to go back to writing. We'd both be too excited. But when I did, when he was done, I burst in there and I got up on the couch and I was like, guess what? And he knew instantly, of course. He was like, did you get partnered? Yes. And he came over and gave me this giant bear hug. And then the next day we went to Disneyland.
Oh,
It's adorable.
that's amazing.
Like there's been all sorts of things. I mean, it's been almost 3 years, right? My very first stream was May 1st of 2014, and it's been almost 3 years of absolute roller coaster insanity. Like anytime anything happens, like I can't even list all the things, you know, there's just too many things. Anytime there's a really good stream, anytime, you know, I got a sponsorship or someone, you know, some incredibly generous person donated some totally ridiculous amount as Twitch viewers are, you know, as they do occasionally. And it's just like, you never expect that kind of thing. Even if it's happened before, you still never expect it to happen again. That's crazy, right? So like, I just, anytime something like that happens, he's the first person I text and he's like, holy crap. And then, you know, we usually still snuggle on the couch with the cats and eat dinner to celebrate and have wine, but it's just nice. You know, anytime anything exciting happens, you celebrate it with, you know, your SO. So
Yeah, I'm sort of the same way. Like it's been almost 3 years of streaming, and then you know partnership happened a little differently for me too, being staff at the time. So it's really been the milestones and you know telling her about like you know my first successful subathon when we hit 300 for the first time. Like we'd usually just go out and celebrate. We eat like or order in like my favorite food or whatever, and we just drink and have fun. The memory to answer the question though. The on-stream memory I think I have of it's actually a clip I think of Jen and I is when we were doing an aftercast of the J-pop podcast we were doing, and we were playing Quiplash, and it was some I forgot what the prompt was, but then like since you don't know who wrote it, there was one that said streaming who the fuck does that, and you know that one won, and when it flipped over, and since Jenna and I were playing off the same phone, it said Ava Icy because we combined our names. I just gave her this look, and I got up and I just threw my headphones and just kind of it was just this shot of shots that I will never forget because it just I don't know, it just showed that comfort with what I was doing, that she could take a shot that powerful at me, that you know, and then became a meme. Streaming, who the fuck does that? And yeah, it was that I'll never forget that. Out of all the moments we've shared together on stream, the ones usually where I'm the butt of the joke are the ones that I remember the fondest.
In my case, I honestly, I've been sitting here while I've been listening to you guys trying to be like, what's a moment? Because like anytime I've hit like a major milestone, it's usually when I'm completely sleep deprived, and so my memory's probably gone because they tend to happen during like long streams, like 24-hour streams and stuff. And usually when I hit a milestone, Diz is asleep because it's like the middle of the night and he actually likes to get his sleep during my long streams. So honestly, I don't know, other than like I'm trying to remember even just hitting like recently I hit 600 subs, and I'm trying to remember how did we celebrate, and I don't even remember at this point. I'm like, wow, I don't think we actually did anything. But like he's always been proud. He's mentioned how he's always been proud of me, but I can't think of a like definitive pivotal like yay celebration like together stream over something from my stream, which is okay. I think I don't think it needs to have anything like that, but who knows what's gonna happen when I hit 1,000. But it's definitely something that I think is important to share with your SO, you know, and for them to be happy and proud of your achievements and successes just as you would about theirs, and whatever they do. So I guess that's the point to make, is that to celebrate each other's successes, no matter what it is, right? Because that's an important part of strengthening your relationship with your SO. So there you go. That's the lesson from this. But moving along then, it can be so easy sometimes to focus on the negative in all aspects of life. How important do you think it is to share the positives regarding your stream with your significant other, i.e. telling them how your stream went for the day? Do you think there should be a balance from day to day, or can it be too overbearing to share too much stream positives with your significant other? As in, like, I'm always talking about my stream, can we talk about something else, kind of a deal? Can it ever be bad?
Depends, I think.
Depends on your relationship. Like, are you guys the type of relationship where you like to give each other kind of a play-by-play of everything happened that day? Or are you guys more of like, I want to kind of generalize and maybe name a couple of highlights of what happened and then leave it at that? And I guess part of it too, like, depends on if you chat about your day and then, like, does it come up again and again later? Or is it just that one time? For me, it tends to be like, we'll talk about what happened in my day and then his day, and then we'll kind of move on from there and just talk about stuff we do together. And I don't feel like it ends up being overbearing for us anyway.
I mean, I think it really just depends on your relationship. Like, I think no one that streams can ever be called a super quiet person once they get to know someone. Like, people that stream can definitely be introverted and quiet amongst people. But I think once they get into a place that they're comfortable, right? Whether it be at home in front of a camera, in front of computers, or with their significant other, they probably get comfortable and then, talk a lot. At least that's how I am, and how I feel like a lot of streamers are. And so, I don't know. Do I talk too much? Maybe, I don't know. I feel like as long as you're as interested and you listen as much as you can and want to know as much as you can about the other person's day and experience, and their stuff matters as much to you as your stuff matters to them, then you're good.
Yep.
Pretty much.
Yep. I'm much the same way, I think. Sorry, Tess. But I've kind of tuned it to, like, what are the takeaways from the stream? And usually it's like, we talked about a certain subject, or I hit 60 in a certain job, or it's never really. It used to be a play-by-play, but that I felt like I was talking her ear off, so I kind of tried to just think of the things that I'm like, oh, what can I take away from today, and then tell her about that, and then we'll kind of get into deeper. She'll ask questions, and then we'll have a conversation off of that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Pretty similar to Tess and Spoonie. Otherwise.
Yeah, I agree with everybody. Because if it ever annoys your SO, I feel like they don't quite understand, maybe, or maybe there's not enough, like, understanding between the two of you, for them to know why you're so excited to always be talking about it, And so if your SO, for anybody listening out there, if your SO ever expresses annoyance or frustration or irritation with you talking about your stream, talk with them about that. Be like, hey, if you don't like my stream, or like, maybe not that, but more like, how can we make our relationship better, and I think that, for our relationship to go further, we should understand each other and know each of our interests individually, and have, again, back to having that balance. So that was the whole point of this question, is kind of to be like, hey, if your SO ever expresses any kind of negativity towards you talking about your stream day to day, things like that, something needs to happen with just talking to them about that. In my
there's
opinion.
Something there.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, know that I guess we're gonna get to that later, but I know that personally. Yeah, that if there's something there, if it feels awkward, then there's something there that you should talk about.
For sure, for sure. So moving along then, your significant other understands you probably more than anyone else. They also understand you and your position with streaming better than anyone else. How has this understanding and level of relationship helped you in regards to your time streaming? Do you think the experience would be the same if you were living with family or friends that were roommates?
Not at all. I think that I was going through a lot in the past couple of months with sub numbers and figuring out if I was making the right decisions, because I changed during my first year of full time. I changed what I did 3 times, and so I was coming to the point like, oh, I've been playing FF for a while. Like, am I really doing the right thing? Am I hitting so I even if Jen can't answer specifically, she knows how I react to things, at like the question says, at a more detailed level than anybody else does. So she can get past the details of it, which are usually kind of hiding what the real issue is, and kind of get to like, why is this really bothering me? And I could not see talking about this with anybody else. Like, I'll go with my, to you guys, my stream team. You guys are family to me, with like specific like stream things and like things that like shared experiences. But like talking with Jen is like a level deeper than that, and she can like know what I'm going through before I even know it. And I that would never be the same with anybody else, like my family, friends, or whatever. It's like I like kind of need that. You kind of need to be told sometimes that you're going through something before you even realize it yourself. And really, like, if you're in a good place with your SO, they know before, they can see it coming before you do. Especially since we're doing this 6 to 8 hours a day, maybe longer. We get so wrapped up in the details of everything, the numbers and whatever, that we really miss the big picture. And that's something that SOs can really help with, and Jen has helped with on like countless occasions with me and my mental state, because it really sometimes it really comes out, like when we turn the camera off and you're just sitting there and like, wait, I really need like somebody to talk to, because like all this stuff that I would never tell the stream, I have to tell somebody. I have to like go of this to somebody. If it's not the Chillest Discord, it's probably going to be Jen, and she's been really good at supporting me there.
There's a lot of behind the scenes stress when it comes to streaming that most streamers don't talk about, I think, at all, really, because you don't really want to bring negativity onto your cast, and you don't want to put that on your community. Your stream, I think for a lot of us, especially on the Chillest, but a lot of streamers, really, we're there to take other people's minds off of their stress, right? That's our hope, is to sort of provide a really nice place. Oh my God, that emote. To provide a really nice place for people to come and relax and like, relieve themselves of their worries. So if the streamer is really stressed, and I don't mean like I'm struggling to fight this boss, like stressed, I mean like behind the scenes, like their confidence is shaken, or they've dropped like 70 subs in a day or something, and they're just like, oh my God, is my, or they had like half their normal viewers or something, and they're just really stressed, like, oh my God, is my stream dying or something. Like all these crazy thoughts go through your head as a streamer all the time. And it's very up and down kind of career too, because you never sort of, there's so many things that go into it, and no one gets that like another streamer or a streamer's significant other. Like if that significant other knows you and you talk to them about things, then they know all of it. And of course, like anytime that I'm stressed, I talk to Rob, and sometimes I don't even talk to him. I just sort of, I always talk to him, but like if I've had a crappy day or something like that, I'll text him, and he might still be at work. I'll be like, hey babe, I had a crap day, can you pick up like wine and X food or whatever? And he'll be like, of course. And then he'll come home and we'll like to have extra snuggles, and he'll just be there for me, and it's amazing. It's amazing. I would never, like, he says all the time, I say this to him all the time, and he's like, no, you'd be fine. You'd still be able to do this. I would not be able to do this without him. There's no way that I would have been able to continue to have the confidence in myself to continue this if he didn't have that confidence in me. When, like, he has confidence in me when I don't have confidence in myself, is basically what it is. And the same goes for the community to a large degree. Your community, I feel like all of our communities collectively will have confidence in us even when we don't have confidence in ourselves. But there are days when the person that knows you best just needs to be there for you when you're worried at all, and not having that, I think, would have significantly derailed my sort of continuation of this amazing, crazy job.
And they're the only ones that can really, like, if my community knows, and a lot of you know just how, like, one-to-one I am, like, when it comes to, like, in person and on stream. Like, if I'm having a bad day, you will see it, and there's nothing I can do about it. I do not have any control over like, say, losing 40 subs in a day, And so, but there's only so much your community can do, or your stream team can do. If I'm sitting on the couch and Jen sees me, she knows, like, okay, what's wrong? She'll pull it out of me, because I will close up. And I won't want to talk about it, because I don't want to. I feel like I don't want to burden anybody with that, and that's something I'm trying to get over. So if I'm not coming out with it, she's the only one I allow to get that involved with the topic, and, like, she'll force it a lot of the times. And when you're with your SO, that is a normal thing and should happen. Yeah, I kind of lost my train of thought, but it just shows how important that support structure. When we say our SO is our rock, that's what we mean. Like, it just serves so many purposes when it comes to support and getting to the bottom of things that, like, nobody else can.
For sure, I echo everything in that. Like, it's hard to describe the kind of, just when you're with your SO and the relationship you have, and how much they know about you just beyond streaming too. Like, they know who you are as a person, and, like, when you're streaming, you're, I mean, it's gonna vary, but, like, you're the streamer, and then you have your community, they're the viewers, and your community can be great, but there's something different when you have a significant other, and they know you just inside and out, through and through, and as much as you can love your community as a streamer, you can't quite get to that level with your community the same way you would with your SO. And I feel like, I'm echoing what I'm hearing from Tess and Brian, and I know Spoonie as well, just having them there, and, like, if it was, like, my family, or if it was, like, friends who are roommates, it just wouldn't be the same. Because you can't really open up to them the same way you would with somebody who knows you as intimately, as deeply, as thoroughly as your SO does. And so, I agree with what Tess was saying, was, like, like, being able to do streaming without my SO, without Diz, I wouldn't be able to. He's done so much more than he realizes, and it's,
oh man,
yeah.
I couldn't imagine dealing with all of this stress without somebody. Like, I can't imagine how people do.
I could not. I literally couldn't.
I know people that do, but I don't know how they do it. Like, I don't know how they do it. I couldn't do it.
I feel like people who don't, like, live with their SO or have an SO probably find other ways to make that connection.
It's true. You're going to find somebody that you can open up, that you have that level of vulnerability with. But for us, it's always going to be our SO. So
yeah.
I
mean, earlier we were talking about our significant others kind of being our rock. And, like, I mean that 100%. I'm in the same boat as all of you. I literally could not be doing this without Angry Trees, because when everything feels like it's falling apart, Angry Trees is the only person I can go to who can just be there for me and be exactly what I need in that moment. And he knows when I'm sad, even when I don't want to share. Because I get the same way, Brian. I don't like to open up whenever I'm sad about things. But Angry Trees can get that out of me and, get to the bottom of why I really feel that way about something so that I can approach it from an appropriate manner and solve my problem, whatever that problem might be. And I don't know how I would do that without him. There was one point actually earlier on in streaming where I really thought that I was going to get partnered. And when I didn't, I was so devastated. I actually thought about quitting streaming. And the only thing that really stopped me from considering it more seriously was Angry Trees. Because he had that confidence in me, like you were talking about, Tess, even when I was like, well, there's just no way this is possible for me. There's no way I can make it. He knew I still could.
Good stuff. This is pretty deep. Not gonna lie. I almost got a little bit teary because I was like, trying to imagine going through what we've gone through. It's without our SOs. It's definitely one of those, like, you don't ever want to take any of that for granted. And for anybody out there listening, if you have an SO who helps you, or even if it's not an SO, even if it's like your best friend or somebody who's really always there every step of the way, let them know how much you appreciate that. Because
look at the word
significant
other.
Exactly.
It's like somebody that's significant to you.
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
And I guess what I'm learning here is that we need to express that to our SOs, because I mean, if they don't know already, let them know. Or if you don't feel like you tell them often enough how much you appreciate it, do it. When Diz comes home, I'm probably gonna go tackle him. So it's one of those things, to keep in mind. Life is too short not to appreciate what you have.
I mean, it hasn't been so long, and I hope it's never so long, honestly, that I don't remember what it was like before I met Rob. I remember exactly what it was like before, and I remember all the other relationships that I've been in. Not that there've been that many, but I remember them very well. And I don't know, I got so fucking lucky, honestly. I really don't, and it's just, if I ever take that for granted, I'm the biggest moron in the entire universe. Like, I can't imagine that.
So moral of the story, go hug your SOs, no matter what. Hug them, let them know. Let them know they matter, and that you wouldn't be where you are without them, Even if you're not a streamer, you wouldn't be where you are without them. So moving on into the section called the downs. So we did the ups, now we gotta do the downs. So it goes without saying that streaming full-time or consistently is bound to have some strain on your relationship with your significant other to some degree. What is one of the biggest struggles you've faced in balancing streaming and your significant other? You can be as vague or as specific as you'd like, as long as you're comfortable talking about it. I mean, I can start out.
Do we have a couple days?
I can start out. So
is there alcohol involved in this conversation?
I probably need to join Tess in getting some. No, you're out. Okay.
So for me, like I said, I started streaming when Diz and I were already living together. And initially, when I first discovered streaming, I got super sucked into it. Like, I'm the type where if I find something really fun and I get really into it, I end up just getting completely absorbed and almost obsessed, really. And it's not necessarily the healthiest. But I have a thing where when I really enjoy something, I really sink a lot of time and effort into it. Whether or not, for better or for worse, basically. And initially, Diz was supportive. He still is now, but he was supportive, and he was like, you discovered this thing, I think it's cool, let's do it. And then we since we were so new to it, because I was so new to Twitch and he was so new to Twitch, it ended up being where we didn't really talk about what this could have as an effect on our relationship. And sorry, the distraction from the but ended up resulting in us actually taking a break. So this happened actually not this past winter, but the winter before. It started kind of spiraling down in December 2015. And it's pretty rough because we ended up, like, we both knew we were unhappy with something, but we never talked about it. And my advice here is to talk with your SO. Do not ever bottle anything up. Ever. Like, this is not just with Twitch and streaming, this is just general relationship advice here. Never bottle anything up with your significant other. If there's an issue, tell them, talk to them, because it ends up backfiring if you don't. And in my case, like with Diz, we ended up taking a break for 1 month. And it was probably the worst month in recent memory in my life. And it's not easy to talk about necessarily, but we got through it, and we actually got back together in January, like the end of January, right before we went to PAX South, because we had planned to go to PAX South that time too, in January 2016. So we decided to give it a second shot and to work towards it. And honestly, in the end, it was more than just streaming, but streaming was a huge kind of rift. It caused this rift between us. And it's because I devoted so much time to it that I was kind of neglecting him without realizing it. And so that's what led me to changing my schedule throughout the years and to kind of work towards actively spending more time with Diz, because in the end, he's important. And like I said, I wouldn't be here without him. And so I was literally so devastated at the time. And I'm glad I had my community at the time. They definitely helped a ton. But I'm just so glad that things have gotten so much better since. Like, Diz and I have gotten back together. We've been fine. And it's been, honestly, we've been happier. It's like our relationship had a jump start because we decided to sit down, talk it out, and actually actively work towards fixing what was wrong. So it's definitely, like, without realizing it, sometimes Twitch and streaming, when you get really into something like this, it is so easy to lose focus. It is so easy to not realize that it can cause issues, you know, between you and honestly the most important person in your life. And that's what happened with me. So hopefully this isn't too like serious or deep, but I just wanted to share like an example of it does happen. It does happen. And it's not something that you should brush aside lightly, in my opinion. Especially if your SO means something to you. Definitely don't brush it aside. Because I've learned my lesson, and now I do prioritize Diz. I'm okay with taking days off to spend time with him, you know, and my community knows. And so it's super important, in my opinion, to make that time. And to not let streaming and Twitch consume your life like it did for me. Because it nearly destroyed the most important thing in my life. So sorry to start off so like serious there, but
actually I'm thankful
Yeah.
because I had it's funny how much I share in similarity to the rest of you. For me it was the same thing. Twitch was an atom bomb on our relationship, and I got completely sucked in. It was a sort of gratification, and I don't know. It was this thing that just sucked me in, because like you had this community that always came out to see you, and you know you got nothing but good vibes from them and stuff, and it was like the worst kind of drug if you let it be. And it shattered a lot of the foundation of a relationship that had lasted, like we had been married for 2 years and we had been together for 11 to 12 at that point. So it's like a really long lasting relationship, and what it did was just open this. We eventually went to therapy, and which is something I completely recommend. There is no stigma. There shouldn't be a stigma around going to therapy if you need it. If you need to talk to somebody, if you have to talk to a professional about either your relationship or yourself, the best choice I've ever made. but we learned a lot about each other over the past couple of years, and we had to work out what were our core beliefs, what were important to us, what were things that were important to us, and like to be at a point where like you feel like your relationship was like truly in trouble, and that you didn't want to let go of this thing that had already given you so much joy in such a short time, but at the cost of somebody that you had been with for more than a decade. It's like I look at it, I kind of shake my head. I'm like, how did I think of these things? How did I think that Twitch could ever be more important than Jen? But I would be lying if I said that thought never crossed my mind. It did. So having to come up from that really deep crevice and work up towards like trying to figure out how to rebuild this in a way that we have a solid foundation, and that is based on communication, that is based on vulnerability. When we say, like, when I usually translate it to vulnerability when it comes to not holding things in, it's because you don't want to expose yourself to your significant other or anybody else. It takes a lot to I guess something that I was told that I remember, it's like it's very easy to give love, it is very hard to accept it. Like, you can take it, but it's very hard to accept it. And being able to get to that point, to be vulnerable and open up like that about both the good things and the bad, it's been a work in progress that will continue. Like I got to a point where it was like Jen was feeling like a complete second to streaming, and it kind of like swept her up, and like much like Snowy's situation, if it wasn't for listening to her, going to therapy every week for the last or for a year and a half, 2 year period, like I don't know what would happen. It's something that this is something, Twitch is something that we had never experienced before, that we never encountered before. And now like we've come out of it so much better as like, not only people, but also as a couple, and being able to work things out a lot better and a lot quicker, like be able to resolve arguments quicker. And I mean, sometimes it takes that sort of fall from grace in order to build something up that's better, because you don't know when you're starting a relationship whether the foundation you're building it on is safe at all, because you're still learning all this stuff about each other. So if you're willing to fight for it, and I got to a point where I was like willing to fight for it, and so I took months off of streaming, and then this happened, and we're like in a good place now. You fight for it, and you do everything you can to do that. I feel like I'm going all over the place, but it's very similar in a way to Snowy's story, where you kind of you're at the bottom, now you're here. Why did I do that?
Yeah, exactly. And it's not like you wanted to get to that point,
No.
but sometimes it's so easy for things to slip by you without you realizing it. And that's what happened in the case with Diz and myself. Like, we didn't realize, like, it wasn't just the stream, but the stream was a huge part of it, because I would spend so much time streaming and ignoring any problems we had. And as a result, the stream seemed to have caused a rift unintentionally. It was just, I don't know.
I think it's a really easy thing, especially when you've been in a relationship for a long time, right? You kind of get settled in, you kind of like when you're first seeing someone. I think it's so I had like 5 minutes of something like this, literally. I think it was like our only actual sort of fight that we've ever really had. And it was literally 5 minutes. Like it was brief, because it was still new, and I was so, and I feel like it's always a danger, it's always a danger. And I'm always kind of like thinking to myself, am I doing too much stream stuff? Am I not paying attention enough? It's really easy to take someone for granted when you've been with them for a long time. It really is easy, because you get so used to it when it's all new, and you're like, nervous, it's easier to pay attention to stuff, to the cues from the other person when they feel like neglected for whatever reason. And stream can be all consuming, and especially so when you're trying to push forward and make it your career and make it like, like make it more and have it grow. And there was a part of me from the beginning that knew that was never going to go away. It doesn't matter how big you get. Like, I mean, it doesn't matter if you're a brand new streamer and you've only been streaming for 3 days, or if you're, Co-Carnage. Like, honestly, there's never a point at which you get to step back and stop pushing and take it a little easier, right? That doesn't happen on stream, because if you do that, then you can step back and your progress will slow. And it's just the way that Twitch works, unfortunately. That's why it's so hard for us to take days off. That's why it's so hard for us to take time away, and there's also so much back end. Like, I think a lot of people don't realize that when you're streaming, like, you have to network, you have to be involved with your community outside of your stream. Like, anytime that you're not casting, anytime that you're not talking to people about stream, anytime you're not like working on stream stuff, you're losing time, you're losing potential progress. And it's scary to think about, but you also can burn out, and you also can do damage to the most important relationships in your life. And that, like, finding a balance is hard. It's hard. And like the 5 minutes of that sort of happening was in the very beginning of me and Rob. He kind of, sort of like, I was talking on, we didn't even have Discord at the time. I don't even remember what the heck we were using. I honestly don't remember. I don't remember what mode of contact I had, but I was chatting in it. I really don't remember. No, I don't think it was Skype, because even back then I knew how bad it was, but it was something else. I don't remember. It might have been Steam. I don't know.
ICQ.
I don't know. I don't remember, but I was chatting on it a lot, and like, he was chilling on the couch next to me, and they were like watching something, but I was chatting about stream while we were watching something. And I think he felt like I wasn't really present with him, and I wasn't. I was working on stream stuff. And I think it bugged him in the beginning, and so he was like, I think I'm gonna go. And that to me was like, what? No. And I literally turned off the computer and was like, I basically said to him, and this is horrible, I think, for my community to hear, but it's true. I said to him, like, if I ever had to make a choice for whatever reason between you and stream, I would choose you. Right. And I think that's true. Like, if something happened, right, where, I don't know, like, I don't even want to think of bad things that could happen that would require me to stop streaming and like be there for Rob in some way. I don't know. I can't think of something like that, but if that ever happened, that's what I would do. He's the love of my life. So it's just what I would choose. And I think my saying that was enough for him to know that he's always going to be my top priority no matter what. And that ended that argument, basically, and him saying the same thing to me, basically him saying to me that he would never want me to do that. He wouldn't let me do that. Like, he knows that I love this and he wants to support it, and he would never want me to quit. He wouldn't want me to do that. He would want to be there with me and support me. And that was enough for me. Like, we both basically said to each other that we're all in and we're going to figure it out. And that was enough for both of us. And that was the end of that, hopefully. But I think it's more than one conversation, right? Like, we had that conversation, and I'm really glad that we did. But if I like, there are definitely times when I feel like I'm streaming too much and I'm, taking too much time for all of this, for my career and my life and my community. As much as I love you guys, I feel like I want to devote time to him too. And it is a hard thing to balance, and it is something that you have to keep remembering to do, like, you have to keep making time for the things that matter to you and the people that matter to you, and I won't lie that my family has definitely not heard from me a lot, or much at all. And my dad, for example, was, I mean, I joke about it that he's like, oh, I'll disown you if you don't go skiing. He didn't say that, of course, but I think my family does sort of miss talking to me a little. And it's a struggle. It's a struggle to balance. So you just got to keep trying. I think you have to keep trying every day. Like when you're with someone, you know, even if you're not a streamer, whatever it is that you do, you always have to make that person a priority. Whatever else is in your life, whatever hobbies, whatever jobs. I mean, this applies to all jobs, really. This applies to, we spend like probably 85% of our time, or maybe 80% of our time, I don't know, at our jobs. Like if you think about it, how much of our day does everyone, no matter what job you do, spend doing your job and thinking about your job and, you know, trying to succeed and get better and move forward, whatever job. And if you don't make time, those people might not be there. And I'm very much aware of that. I think with stream, it's the same. You can't take things like that for granted. You can't take your community for granted, and you can't take the people that love you, that you love, that are most important in your life for granted.
Completely agreed. Anything else to add before we move to the next question? Because this was a really charged question.
Could go on forever on this question. But...
Yeah, I know, right? Well, then, moving along then. Living with your significant other changes the situation compared to being in a relationship without living together. What challenges do you think this alone introduces to trying to balance streaming with being in a relationship? Do you feel that living with or not living with your significant other makes a difference? Some might argue that it's just as challenging to balance streaming when in a long-distance relationship or when in a relationship where you don't live together. We're not trying to like trivialize long distance or other relationships where you're not living together, by the way. But are there challenges with that? With living with them or not living with them?
It is, man, I really can't speak to that because of, you know, how long Jen and I have lived together. So that's really like another your mile. It depends. Really depends on that because like Jen and I couldn't sustain a long distance relationship. We didn't want a long distance relationship. She moved in with me like while I was still going to college, like a couple of months after we met, and moved cross country for that. And so there are other people where I've known they've had long distance relationships for years and they've been able to, you know, optimize around that. So I don't know about the rest of you, but yeah, I can't really give too much.
Like I said earlier, Rob literally, I think within like 3 or 4 days, pretty much started spending every night at my place, and it was great. And I wanted that. He wanted that. We didn't. I would have had him move in like immediately. It was just logistically not feasible. There wasn't enough room, but he basically slept there and went back to his apartment for his stuff. You know, and it was just like I couldn't do it, honestly. If there was ever like a job change for him or something like that, like I would travel with him. I would, even though I honestly hate traveling at this point. I've done it so much in my life. I used to like growing up, we traveled all the time. And not just like to cool places, but just like as our daily life, we were just always moving around and it was stressful. And so I'm just like over it. But if for some reason I needed to, I would do it. Like I would never be able to maintain. I mean, he went up to skiing for 1 day and he came home and I like barreled at him and was like, "Meh. I can't sleep in the bed by myself." I'm one of those people. I'm ridiculous. I'm a little ridiculous. I understand that, but I couldn't do it. I don't know how people do it. I know there's 2 streamers actually. The girl is amazing and a sweetheart and a teammate of mine on another team, and the guy is also super, super, super awesome and nice. And they live literally, like one lives in the US and the other one lives in New Zealand, and they're engaged and she's pregnant and she's still living there because it just takes time to move and do all that, you know, logistically. I could not do that. I would not be able to do that. I just wouldn't. I all power to people that can. I don't know how they do it.
I mean, thinking about it, I guess I could compare it to like, working from home, working remotely for a company, in that it's a very much out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. And that you have to put even more you have to have more of a mental capacity to be mindful of staying in contact with them. It could start out, obviously, a lot of long distance relationships, like you're on the phone every night, but we all had those moments where, you're on the phone every night, you fall asleep to each other's voices, things like that. But, when you're getting more serious in a relationship, it just requires more mental energy that you have to expend in order to keep it going. And I can see why it doesn't work for a lot of people, because it's like, for when you're working remote, when I was working remote, I was missing a lot of the stuff that the Twitch design team was doing just by visiting each other's desks. Like, I missed out on a lot of the memes. I missed out, which are like the social aspect of it is really important, at least in working, when it comes to working remotely. But I had done it so long that I was used to it. But it's like, it's the little things. It's always the little things that you're missing out by not, being in the same space, that you have to work harder to compensate for when you're apart like that. Yeah.
Yeah, Spoonie, do you have anything to add?
Well, Angry Trees and I were only long distance for the first couple of months of our relationship. And that in itself, without balancing streaming in the mix, was hard enough. So I seriously commend anybody who can do that. I don't think I'd be able to either. I'm already really awful with time management.
For sure. Actually, the first 2 years of my relationship with Diz was long distance, or semi-long distance. And it's because we met in Japan, and we were working in different towns. So we were 4 hours driving apart, which isn't as bad as some other people who have to do long distance, but it just meant that we weren't physically with each other all the time. And we only ever saw each other physically like every couple weekends, basically. And then when we took the step to move back to the States from living in Japan, we moved in together. And it was there's some things you learn about each other just by living together, and it's both good and bad stuff. It's things you have to kind of learn to accept and love your SO for who they are when you move in and you learn all these things, because it is different. It's different, I feel, living with your SO versus simply dating them but not living together. Living changes a lot of things. It's a big step for a lot of people too. So it's definitely something that, like I said, it's in any relationship really. It requires you to work. It requires you to compromise, to be open with each other, to communicate, to always make sure that you guys are always on the same page with each other. And I would say that, like, if we were like Spoonie was saying, like, if we were still long distance, living like 4 hours apart, trying to add streaming into that as a way to balance things, I don't know. And I do admire people who can do it and make it work. But yeah, like, I think we're echoing the same sentiments here, where living together and not living together, both of them have challenges, and in the end, it's all about working together and actively keeping that relationship strong with your SO, I think, for this question. So moving along then, what is your advice to someone out there who might be struggling with balancing their significant other with streaming beyond a casual hobby? So kind of like a summary of what we just talked about, more or less. Is there anything pertaining to this entire topic that you know now but wish you had known in the past?
Seeking help is okay.
Yeah. For sure.
It really is. It really is. Just communication. I mean, people talk about it. I think the C word is used more than the L word when we talk about anything, but I think people take it for granted just how important just like the little bits of communication are. And just to not blindside. And blindsidings, like, or bottling in, and the different terms we've used are like all paths to, running into one very big wall later. So like if you're easing into streaming, right, if you're going from casual to something more than that, you have a perfect opportunity to start discussing with your significant other what this means. What's this going to mean? So you both go in on the same page, and not you all of a sudden saying, "Hey, hon, I'm gonna be streaming more," and they'll be like, "Okay," and then like 6 months later, you're like, "But I told you." And then what? It's like you didn't bring up a problem before. It's like that. If you're having to say that, you should have talked about it at the beginning.
And sometimes you may not be able to anticipate a problem that might come up, right? Or you might not be able to, like, I feel like I tend to worry about it a little sometimes, and then I tend to forget about it sometimes, and then I'll worry about it again. And sometimes this is on a daily basis, and sometimes it's on like a weekly basis or something. But there are sort of things you might not expect could be a problem, or a significant inconvenience for your SO. And so I feel like being open with them and having them be open with you is so important if something bothers them. Like it could be a small thing that snowballs, right? And it could be a lot of small things. I don't know, the way that our stream room is oriented, right? For example, like I never wanted in my first apartment, in my original apartment, my first apartment, when I started streaming, I was also in the living room, and I pretty much lived in the living room. Like the stream was there, I was there all the time. We'd fall asleep there, I'd wake up and I'd start streaming, and it was kind of crazy. And I just felt like I always tried to make it so that Rob could like move around without being on camera, without having to worry about being on camera, and so that's always been something that's on my mind. But like, if you don't think about that, if that could be a problem in some way, for them, like they need to, the other person needs to, especially when you live together, I feel like feel at home in their home and feel like they're free to do whatever and be themselves. Like I've got cameras up to follow the cats, right? And like I always make sure that they're off when they need to be off, and they're pointed in places they're never pointed in places they don't need to be pointed, so that like Rob can move around freely and stuff like that. And that was one thing that I sort of had thought about, and that I always kind of still wonder about, because there are times when the camera's like on the living room, but he's usually in here at that point. So I don't know. It's just, if anything ever comes up, if something new comes up on stream or off stream, something new comes up with your SO's job that changes their schedule, like with Snowlit and Diz, for example, like you have to talk about it. You have to plan for it, and make sure that whatever way that you guys do things at that point, if it's going to change, that it works for both of you. Right. And if something comes up that bothers either of you, you want to talk about it when it happens, not 2 months later when you're already so mad and things, have gotten bad between you. Right.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Anything to add before we move on to viewer Q&A or audience Q&A? We have a few questions lined up that I'll be asking.
Yeah, I mean, I really just wanted to echo, like, one thing that I wish I had known was, people always tell you it's the tiny things that are going to grow and eat away at your relationship. And you're like, yeah, okay, like that sounds reasonable, but you might not necessarily believe it until it starts happening to you. And you might not even notice it until like 6 months later, when suddenly a problem comes up that you didn't realize was a problem. So I think communication, like we've been talking about, is probably the best way to avoid stuff like that. But like, I wish that I had realized how much I was going to invest my time into Twitch and how much it was going to suck me in, so that I could have been a little bit more active in the beginning about setting aside that time. Because that was the mistake that I made, is I didn't really set much time aside for me and Anger Trees specifically at the beginning. It took a while before I realized that was something that I needed to do. And it definitely could have done some really awful things to our relationship. And I don't want to see that happen to anybody.
All right. So moving along to some questions we have queued up here. So Urban Combat Kill couldn't tune into the podcast VOD. He actually sent me this question earlier today during my stream before the podcast. But he said, what about dating and how to bring up the idea that you're a streamer to people that you would like to date or that you've just met or recently started dating? How do you explain to them and try to get, them into it, I guess?
What's dating?
What's dating? A lot of us, by the way, are very in long relationships right now at this point, and we haven't dated in a while. So hopefully we can answer this, in a satisfactory way. But
I mean, I guess I'm the only one that was really sort of like streaming kind of started around the same time as me and Rob. Like me and Rob started a little bit before streaming. And I was modding for another streamer, a small streamer at the time that was a friend at the time. And I was playing lots of Eve, right? And so it's kind of like the same thing as trying to introduce your potential significant other, right? Your date to, like, introducing your date to Eve or to Twitch is like introducing your date to Eve. Either one is totally absurd, right? And they're either gonna love your absurdity or they're gonna hate it. And if they hate it, maybe they're just not the right person for you, honestly. That's the thing. Like, it is crazy. It is crazy, and it's a little out there, and it will forever be crazy, even when it really truly becomes mainstream, even though it's definitely getting close to that. I feel like that person is either gonna love your crazy or they're not, right? And if they from the beginning love your crazy, then you probably found someone that you want to invest time into, right? And if they're totally turned off by your crazy, and you might not be able to be yourself around them in the future, then maybe that's a relationship that is better as friends or something, I feel like I've been in a relationship, actually a long-term relationship, where I thought the person was cool with me as I was, but they weren't actually. They were very convinced that they could turn me into what they wanted. They were very convinced that I had some good qualities and then everything else they could change, right? And I somehow fell into the trap of being with that person for years. And it was horrible and I was miserable. And God willing, I never even have to date ever again, but don't make that mistake. Don't be with someone that doesn't appreciate you for who you are, who you can't be yourself with, because what's the point? You're gonna twist yourself end over backwards to be what they want, but it's not going to be really you, so you won't be happy and they won't be happy because you won't fully be able to be this person that they want you to be, because that's not who you are. And it's just miserable. It's miserable for both people. It's not worth the waste of time.
I
heartache.
Can say I used to
Yeah.
be that kind of person, and it took me years to get out of that, and not a fun time in my life, but that was just kind of the person with ambition that I was, and growing up in the family that I grew up in, and very traditional and things like that. So yeah, I'm ashamed for it, and I hope that people never really have to go through stuff like that, because it's not it's not fun, as you said, for both parties.
Yep. I mean, I guess for dating, you could consider it like the ultimate litmus test. Like Tess was saying, either they're really gonna like your crazy or they're not. And I guess you just don't have to deal with the hassle of finding out many, many dates later instead of maybe on the first one or two. I also haven't dated in a really long time, so that's about all I have on it.
Yeah, so I think especially nowadays, at least in relation to Twitch and streaming, Twitch is becoming more well-known. So thankfully it's not as hard to explain it as like 2 to 3 years ago. Because if you mentioned 2 to 3 years ago about Twitch and that you play video games for a living and you know, people are gonna be like, what? But because YouTube has become so prominent and because Twitch is not quite there, but it's becoming more well known, I don't think it's completely, like, people usually aren't completely out of it with having heard about Twitch or having heard about video game live streaming in general. But there are still people who don't know what Twitch is, and you may have to explain it when you're dating or when you're like going out and trying to meet people and trying to explain what you do, or if it's one of your hobbies, trying to explain it as a hobby even, like even if you don't do it full time, you know, just explaining, you know, if people ask, what do you do in your free time? Oh, I stream on Twitch, you know, not the usual, I like to watch movies, you know, kind of answer. So I would say be patient with people and be ready to explain what Twitch is to people and to be fine with that. And if people don't accept it or they think it's weird, like they're weirded out by it, maybe they're not really somebody you should try to pursue. So, you know, again, it's more of a like play it by ear kind of deal, you know, see how things feel whenever you're trying to date people and trying to explain Twitch and streaming to people. And if they're receptive and they want to know more about it, hey, great. If they don't, if they're completely like, oh, okay, cool, and they just kind of like turn their cheek, you might not want to pursue them. You know, even if they're super hot, like 10 out of 10, doesn't matter. If they don't have that personality where, you know, they're open to learning about you and your interests, it doesn't matter if they're like Ryan Gosling or Chris Evans or Scarlett Johansson, whatever floats your boat. Like,
are we talking about celebrity crushes now? Or
no, we're not. I'm just saying.
Oh, okay.
I'm just throwing examples out there.
Name
but, like,
dropping here.
But no, I'm just saying that like people, you know, some people think, oh, that's a really hot person, I want to get with them. But if they're, you know, this is kind of this goes into like a tangent of like relationship advice that I've given sometimes on stream, where personality in the end is what matters, and whether or not they're open to learning about you and your interests and what you do, and you know, that's the point I was trying to make. So there you go. Anything else to add to this question before we move on?
Broke Tess, but I don't know, like the way I'm looking at it, it's like, if you know, we're so awkward here on Twitch, just in general. I mean, look at PAXs and TwitchCons and whatever, that if you just go out and just say something absurd like, yeah, I stare at a camera for 8 hours a day talking to a screen, if they don't laugh at that, then you're like, they won't like my other jokes then. Maybe, yeah, it's like, oh, it's nice to thank you for the meal, time to go find somebody else to speed date with. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it just like
all the fish.
end it. Like it's a great filter. Just I'm going the other way. I'm just going like, you know, crotch rocket right down that.
Oh man, we love you, Brian.
Thank you.
So basically the idea is be yourself. To this question, be yourself. Don't make it more awkward than it needs to be, you know? And yeah, get used to explaining what Twitch is still. Hopefully we'll get to an age where we don't have to explain what Twitch is because it'll be so well known. But you know, don't be afraid to talk about it, I guess, and explain what it is. Mm-hmm. So moving on then to the next question. This is actually from Cora. He has a couple, it's a two-part question kind of, but his first question is, since all of you are partnered broadcasters on Twitch, do you feel if you were not partnered that, aside from finances, it would change or complicate anything in your relationship with your significant other? Does partnership do anything? Or does that like play a factor, I guess?
I think it's the other way around. I think becoming partner made like just the subject's more complicated. Like when you're not partnered, you don't have to go to your wife and say, I lost 40 subs today and I don't know how to feel about this.
Oh,
it's just like, I keep bringing this up, but it's like, yeah, it's definitely it's the other way around. Partnership when you are bringing when you're bringing numbers to the forefront of what you do, and it's a product based on you. It's not what I used to do, where I just make things and make them pretty and release them, and I can separate myself. It's like no, I am the product. So it is a direct, and having redeveloping myself self-worth in the first place, it's like I have to go to her with that now, because it's like it's a direct reflection on me, or I feel like that. So when I wasn't partnered, it's more like, I guess you could say it's more like the struggle towards partnership. Like what Spoonie was saying before about her story of not getting it and being completely devastated and going to angry and having and looking for that comfort. But when you become a partner streamer, it just you take the I'm working to partnership and replace it with, can I sustain this? And that never ends, ever. Never ends. No matter how big you are, it just gets proportionally worse.
Oh yeah.
And that's why the four of us look to our significant others as such a rock, because we will, this is something that's just chronic and we'll never get past. So we need that.
Yeah, like every day Diz hears about my sub count. I don't know if he asked for it, but I always talk to him and I'm always like, I dropped this much. And it's just, but they're not the type to be like, oh, shut up, Like they want to hear how it went, and they're gonna be supportive about it, and that's what matters, I feel, because in the end, yes, we shouldn't focus so much on our numbers, but once you get that partnership, things change drastically, and it never stops, and your SO knows that it never stops, and they understand that it never stops, and they won't blame you for knowing and for expressing how you feel about it never stopping. Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense. But
makes sense.
yeah,
Makes sense, yeah.
They know. So.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I used to worry less about sub count, except when I was pushing for emotes. And I worry about it a lot more now than I used to. I think when I first started, because I got my button so early, I was just like I had zero expectations of myself and the community, and it always was sort of like I think I was worried about just sort of not eating away at my savings too much, and then that was all gone anyway, and then I really started worrying about my sub count more, and I don't know, I just feel like it's like any career, right, where especially where you're the product, like Brian said, you just stress about it. You stress about it and they hear about it, whether it's your sub count or like your concurrent viewership, which for me is a huge deal, that I worry about and stress about. And both of those things, like any of the numbers related to Twitch, honestly, I've been not looking at my numbers for a while. Like I'll look at it at the end of the day, or I'll look at it like a couple times a week. I've stopped looking at it while live, even though it's on my overlay. Like I actually have that covered up on a monitor, because it stresses me to see it, and that shows up on stream. And the less I can, like, the more I can focus on the community and the people that are there, enjoying it, hopefully, the better all of us, the better experience for all of us, for me and for them. Mm-hmm. And that snowballs. Like if you're happy at your job, you do a better job. Right? It's simple. Yep. So
yeah, that makes perfect sense. I actually feel like a lot of what I do for balancing my own streaming is like playing keep away with myself. So the adult in me is like, the one who like worries about, finances or whatever, looks at the numbers. And then the other side of me that actually streams is still like the 8-year-old Spoonie who's addicted to video games, who eats SpaghettiOs and has nothing to worry about. So it's kind of like keeping those separated so that I can still be myself and like use, I don't know, for me, I almost like stream also is kind of my way to not worry about things, because I've always used video games to distract myself from stressors. So by keeping those things separate, I still use my stream and the video games for that. And and I can be that 8-year-old eating SpaghettiOs.
Honestly, a really, really good way to look at it, and I think a good inspiration for the rest of us. Honestly,
It is.
just keeping them separate. Like the actual streaming itself is never really stressful. It's only stressful if you're playing something you don't like, which I think most of us will agree that if we're ever playing something we don't like, we stop playing it almost immediately, and that's that. But you know, the stream is not the stressful part. The back end sometimes is the stressful part, but it's good to keep that separate. It's really good to keep that separate. And so that's a good way to look at it, Spoonie. I like that.
I need to take a class, Spoonie 101, because I can't, like I said earlier, I can't do that. I'm just like, if I am a wreck coming in, I'm just like, I'm a wreck, guys. I'm just gonna sit here and do my dailies, and I hate life. But then, you know, that's when the stream brings you up. But yeah, I wish I could separate it. Kind of lived and taught people to deal with it, because that's what you get when you come to my channel.
I'll tell you this. The reason why I'm so silly on my stream is that is my escapism.
I like it. I like it. So part 2 of Cora's question then. Has there ever been some sort of discontent between you and your significant other before you were partnered, or if finances were really tight? Example, to the point your significant other may have thought if you'd work a normal job instead of broadcasting on Twitch. I don't know if Cora's here, but I don't know if he's implying that like it got to some sort of strain or discontent where your significant other brought up, hey, maybe if you got a normal job, put that in quotations, instead of broadcasting. That's what it seems like he's asking here. Oh, he is here. Okay.
It was always the mental for us. It's like, what does this do to me mentally? How does it affect the relationship? We could live out a cardboard box. It's fine. But like, I think it would be me first to be like, this isn't working. I think I need to take a normal job. Or go back to web design or something.
I think we are the first people to bring that up, because that, like, for me, that is the biggest fear, honestly, with streaming. I feel like my greatest stress and fear with streaming is that I will have to stop streaming because I can't afford to do it anymore. You know, that is terrifying. And it's like one of the best relationships aside from Rob that I've ever had, because you have a relationship with your community, right? And no other relationship or career or situation has ever been like this, and or that I've loved more, you know, aside from Rob, obviously. And so like, I don't want that to go away, and there's always that fear in the back of my head that it could. And the things that could make it go away are not having enough funds to keep the lights on, basically. You know, I don't need a mansion. I think all of us agree that stream. I mean, if we wanted mansions, we would be doing. I mean, Snowlit has like an advanced degree. I know Brian.
Master of Science, yeah.
Yeah. You know, Brian had like, you know, a great job before. I had a great job before where I worked like half the time I work now. You know, a great job. It was a well-paying job that didn't take a lot of time, or as much time as what I do now. Would I trade what I do now for that ever again? No, not unless I absolutely had to. You know, would I ever go back? Hell no. I wasn't anywhere near as happy doing that as I'm doing this. I've never been this happy in my life, and obviously part of that is Rob, but you know, a huge part of that is stream, huge. And I don't want it to go away. I wouldn't want to give it up. But at the same time, you know, got to keep the lights on, got to keep these in catnip, you know, that kind of thing. So if like my thing, I think right now is like whenever I do struggle with money, because it is like I did eat through my savings, you know, eventually. And right now I've had sort of some situations come up in life, which happens in life all at the same time. Like I had some health issues. My older cat had some health issues, and my car, you know, decided to explode sort of on the in the middle of the highway while I was driving it. And just like things, things kind of all came at me all at once. And so it's definitely been like a razor thin line that I'm kind of walking every month. And that's been a little bit of a struggle, but I think I put that all on myself. I don't really, I think that I'm the one that would put a stop to it if it needed to be stopped. I think I would never let it get to the point where like Rob had to say something. I would hope I would hope that I don't ever let it get to that point, and I'm sort of trying to kind of come back to having a savings now. I'm just being more careful, so that I can make some of that back, because all of it went to all of these situations. So it's just, you have to budget and you have to be smart. And the thing with Twitch also is that it does kind of go in waves. Like there are periods of time when it's slower, and there are periods of time when you have to pay taxes, and you have to prepare for that, and you have to worry about all of that. But again, that's sort of the back end of Twitch. Mm-hmm. So it's nice to separate it. But I think all of us agree that we are our own harshest critics, and usually our communities and our significant others are the ones that hold us up and sort of push us forward. And I've had doubts, and I've shared them with Rob, and he's like, no, you're fine. You're going to be fine. It's going to be fine. So maybe I'm just lucky. I don't know.
Moral of the story is we're just all insecure puddles of sadness.
There you go.
Yep.
The secret's out.
Mm-hmm.
No, but I agree. I echo a lot of what Tess just said. And I know that all of us here, we wouldn't let finances destroy a relationship, I think. But I know that, at least in my case, I know that Diz, like if we really struggled, he would step in and help out a little. But I never want to be the type where I have to depend on him financially, or like have him pay all the rent, or have him do all this and that. And finances, like as a financial, like just stress in general about finances is like one of the worst kinds of stress. And as a streamer full time, it never goes away really, in my opinion, because like Tess mentioned, you do get hit with taxes and things like that, and it's not easy at all. But I think that, I mean, for me, in my case, Diz has never mentioned or suggested to me to get a normal job. Even though he was there with me when I got my master's degree. And I could be doing a normal job. I keep putting it in quotes because I don't feel like Twitch is not normal nowadays. But I'm just gonna put that in quotes every time. Because I could be doing something that's more stable, that gives me a solid monthly income, and I don't have to pay self-employment taxes and things like that. But it's he's never mentioned that, he's never been like, why did you waste your time in graduate school? Like he's never done that to me, and I don't think he's ever even thought of that. Like he's always been the type that, as my significant other, has always supported me in everything I've done. And even though I'm not using my master's degree right now, I don't think he would want to suggest me to not do something I enjoy doing, to be like, why don't you use the, like he's never, I don't know, I just can't see him ever saying that to me. And I mean, it has crossed, like on my own, it's crossed my mind a few times where, what if I had chosen to stream, to not really stream, not to pursue it, and to use my master's degree? Would I be happy? It's hard to say, but I do know, the one thing I do know is that streaming does make me happy, and I have never regretted a day of streaming ever. Streaming is just, it's everything. After Diz, it's everything to me. And so I'm of the belief that if I enjoy doing it, I'm going to keep doing it while I can, because life is too short not to spend it doing what you enjoy and to what makes you happy, even if it's not the best paying or anything like that. If you can make it work, do it, and that's, thankfully, my community has helped make it work over the past 2+ years. And so, it's not something that I ever want to take for granted or anything like that. And, it's I'm in the same boat as Tess. If I were to ever stop it, I would never want to stop. But if I had to, I would want to be the one to make that move rather than have Diz be like, you need to stop, I don't ever want him to be the one that has to tell me to stop, So hopefully that gives some insight to that question.
I think any of us would ever let it come to that.
I don't think
I'm actually, well, kind of, I don't know if you would consider this lucky or unlucky. Lucky, I guess, in the sense that Angry Trees really understands where I'm coming from, because neither one of us really, we've both had sort of the normal 9-to-5 kind of jobs, quote unquote normal, and neither one of us really were big fans of it. We both have wants that are kind of outside of what you would consider a normal job. Streaming for me is the first time I've ever really been dedicated and motivated to do something with my life, other than sit around and play video games anyway. And he wants to pursue writing, and like we moved out to California with 6 months savings to try to pursue filmmaking, and we're just kind of used to being a little bit less orthodox, I guess you could say. So definitely if it came down to it and we were just like, well, we just can't afford rent or whatever, I would be, I wouldn't want him to be the one either to be like, Spoonie, well, like we're gonna have to get jobs. I would do what I would need to do to make us not homeless. But I'm still really thankful that we both kind of have that mindset, and so we're both always going to be the type of people that will pursue a lifestyle that allows us to do something like that.
Good stuff. Anything else to add before we move on to the next question? We have a few more viewer questions, and then we'll pretty much wrapping it up. So, in that case, we have a question from Dubora. Since, we're still on the topic of finances and financial stress, how was the transition into full-time streaming handled in the relationship, as far as finances go and switching up jobs?
I guess I could start. I was coming out of so I worked for Twitch and then I started streaming. I didn't want to leave Twitch, but I was put in a situation where I would come down the stairs every day and it looked like I was dead, or I was mad, or I was losing my mind with regards to the way Twitch was the inner workings of Twitch were going. And if anything, I think it happened a little faster than we both anticipated, because I wanted to hit my 2-year anniversary at Twitch and I kept wanting to go on, but it was literally killing me. And if anything, the switch was awkward because it was an unknown. It's like, I've never done this before. All my past jobs and my career was based on like a skill that I had that I was really good at, and now I have to put as a good friend of mine, Jack Liffer, said, like, you're putting yourself in the hands of the most gracious of people. And like, we didn't know how we would handle that, and thankfully, we're in a good place where we had a runway to work with, savings to work with, that I can do this, and I've lasted a year so far, and hopefully I can go farther with that, because this is what I want to do for them. I want to be a content creator as my next career, and I want to keep doing this as long as possible. So when going into full time, the only nailing down the number, nailing down, okay, I will only go to a few conferences a year. Like, I'm not going to go to every PAX. I'm not going to go to every GDQ. I'm not going to go to everything I possibly can, because there needs to be balance there. I don't do. I started out by saying we'd only do a couple of marathons a year. That turned into an agreement to do, thanks to Snowlit, doing 16-hour broadcasts once a month. And as we got better at dealing with this, at coming into this being a reality, a serious reality, kind of making those compromises. and then yeah, just the schedule. Like my schedule is I will stream when Jen is working, and the only time that doesn't apply is if Jen is not here. So that's concrete. So those would be the only things. Yeah, for the transition to full time for me.
For me, actually, the way we handled it, because I was, I kind of, I spent the first 6 months or so streaming usually 3 or 4 days a week. And at one point, I switched to streaming 5 days a week because I wanted to push further. But Angry Trees and I actually had an agreement where I would still be responsible for helping him with our other self-employed. We ran a business together until I met a certain financial requirement for the stream. And so once I reached that, then we kind of like both gave me the go ahead if I wanted to pursue this, that I could. That way we would know we were covered financially. That way we were both kind of sharing the responsibility as a couple, instead of me feeling like I'm pressuring him into doing more work for one thing when he doesn't really want to do that because he's got his own thing going on.
Yeah, for me, I went to full-time basically 6 months after I started streaming. And I basically went to full-time right after I graduated graduate school. And I guess Diz and I never really sat down to talk about finances per se. I just know that at that point, when I made that transition to full-time, it was going really well. I got partnered 2 months into streaming. My community was really generous, and I was like, well, maybe this could work, And so we ended up moving out here to Colorado, and moving, as you guys know, is pretty expensive, especially if you're moving across states, which we did. We went from Indiana to Colorado. And thankfully I had enough at the time saved up from having student loans and just things like that, and savings from my time in Japan and stuff. And when I made that transition, I guess I went with kind of I wasn't 100% confident, but I felt like I had a good feeling about it. And I went with it. And Diz, at the time, I don't remember, he went from, he works in IT, so he does tech support, but he went, I think when we moved out here to Colorado, he took like 3 months before he found a job, and it's the job he has now. And he has the steady income. He's the one in the relationship that has that steady, solid income every single month. But for me, like I mentioned, I just got out of graduate school, so lots of student loan debt. Graduate school is not cheap, just saying. And I ended up having to defer payment for 1 year because I wasn't completely sure I could afford it, every month. And right now I'm able to. I'm in repayment right now, thankfully. Again, thanks to my community and just being just how much they've helped me stay full time, and being able to get to where I am to be able to sustain this for the foreseeable future. So for that, I'm super grateful. But I will say that as far as finances go and shifting to that full time, Diz and I never talked about it. We just kind of went with it. And I guess for me and him, I don't like to burden him with finances. So like I said, he and I, we keep things completely separate. In our five plus years of being together, we've always kept finances separate. We don't share a bank account or anything. And anytime we have like groceries and things like that, we always split it, down the middle. Going out to eat, we split it down the middle. Like for the most part, there are times that he pays for stuff for me and treats me and I treat him, but that's how it is. But we don't let the finances get in the way of our relationship. And we never want to be the kind of couple that breaks up because of finances, because you hear about that all the time. People get divorced over money, and so like we never want to do that. And that's why I think that's helped a ton with our, I guess, keeping our relationship alive and streaming in general too. So thankfully, I will say, maybe I've been lucky, I don't know, but I will say that thankfully it hasn't been a burden with our relationship and streaming. So finance wise?
I mean, I went full time. I went full time when I still had savings. Like I had savings from my old job, and I invested a lot of those savings into the stream, into the tech, into the, like giveaways and things like that. And then I was also getting a lot from the community. I've always gotten an amazing amount of support from the community, and I've always sort of been able to do. So like I actually struggle with it more now because I can't do like super long event streams, but I figured out a different way to do them, like the health-a-thon thing. And so you just have to budget intelligently, and if you end up in a situation where things come up, right, have backups, right? And so, I pretty much ate into my savings, and now I'm in a situation where I don't have that much savings, but I can still cover my bills and stuff like that. And I'm basically like, I went to every convention almost for 2 years. I'm going to one this year, and it's covered by a sponsor. And that's because I'm trying to build back that savings, and just in case something else happens, because things happen. And so we also keep things separate, and split a lot of things. It ends up evening out, like the way that we do everything, it ends up evening out. And so I feel like I would be the one to bring it up if it became a problem, so.
That and conventions are not cheap. For anybody out there who thinks that like streamers going to conventions, it's like, they're it's easy peasy, they can afford it, why aren't you at this and
money.
this? Yeah, like people
Rolling in it.
some people get unhappy
Still
when
have
I'm
savings if I didn't go to all those
yeah.
cons.
Like
Breathe
people,
myself.
some people are unhappy when streamers they want to see don't go to a PAX they're going to, and stuff like that. And you have to understand it's not cheap. And yes, we can write off a lot of it as, expenses on taxes and things like that, but it's still not cheap. So it's, I don't know, if we could be everywhere all the time and meet all of our community all the time, we totally would. We totally would, but sometimes you just can't do it, No, just a PS right there about conventions while we talk about that. And how like finances and stuff factor in. So moving on, we have 2 more questions and then we're gonna be wrapping things up. So this question is from Liam Piper. So how do you balance the time between you and your SO when you are doing a marathon stream or just a longer stream in general, a 24-hour? I don't know. He mentioned 48 hour. I don't think
48.
I don't think any of us have done 48 hours, but basically long streams. How do you balance the time between you and your SO?
Well, I mean, I think the rest of you guys do this too. I massively plan out any kind of extended stream I'm going to have so that me and my significant other, Angry Trees, are like well aware, like, okay, on such and such date, like 2 or 3 weeks from now, I'm going to be doing this. I actually have my stream set up in one room, and halfway through it, like if I'm doing like a 24-hour stream, will actually move me into the other room so that Angry Trees can get sleep later. I don't expect him to stay up late with me. He doesn't really function very well doing that. But that's pretty much it. It's like we'll dedicate that time. I don't do them very often. I try to do event streams like maybe once every month or two. It's just kind of whatever I can manage time-wise. But other than that, I'll usually like also take a day either before or after off to make sure not only I have time to recover, but I can spend that recovery time with Angry Trees as well.
Yeah, I guess it's they Jen knows in advance. And sometimes I do my long streams when she's not around. So like I did my subathon then. Try to have the most like the minimum amount of burden possible. So yeah, she knows if it's coming, if she's here, and she has stayed up with me for a couple of them, just to because like I get sleepy if she goes to bed or if there's like nobody around to talk to, because even though it's awesome talking to a screen for 24 to 36 hours, you're still talking to a screen. And even if you have people on Discord, it's just not the same as like having people awake around the house. So she has stayed awake for some of those, but we see it coming. That's pretty much it though. I haven't done too many of them, and most of them have been when she's been on a trip.
Well, in my case, Diz usually goes to sleep. Like when I do 24-hour streams or longer, he knows that it's kind of me doing my thing, and he's if I need him for anything, he said he'll be there. Like he's always just there, and but other than that, he doesn't really disturb me, I guess. And he ends up like going to sleep and getting his sleep, and usually he sleeps in because it's usually on a weekend when I do 24-hour streams. And what matters most though, I think, is that even though he usually doesn't disturb me during those long streams, afterward he is there 150%, and he knows I'm tired, and he'll take me anywhere to get food real quick, and he'll do anything to tuck me in and to get me to sleep. And like, that's what matters the most to me, just having him there, especially afterward, because you're coming off of the hype, the excitement, the accomplishment of finishing a long stream like that, but you're also very exhausted, and you're having your SO there, at least with Diz and myself. He doesn't have to say anything. Like, we don't even have to really talk, and he knows what I need. He knows how to take care of me, and that's what matters more than him being there during it, if that makes sense. More than him like getting involved in my 24-hour streams. Like, he doesn't have to do that. He knows. But yeah, hands down, afterward is where it really matters.
Yeah, sometimes Angry Trees might make me like dinner or something to make sure that I actually eat during said 24-hour stream.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really, really nice, because I tend to be the kind of person that gets so distracted that sometimes I forget to eat. Even some of my moderators have to remind me, Spoonie, did you eat? Did you take a break?
Guilty.
It's like a primary reason why I drink so much tea is so that I have to get up to use the bathroom.
That was the best thing that you guys told me before I did my subathon, was
had, what,
drink
16?
lots of tea.
Did you have 16?
I had 16 cups of tea. Man,
Whatever,
that was great. Yeah, pretty much.
That's amazing.
And then like the afterwards care of like how was it, and like, okay, like, are you hungry? Like, I'm gonna tuck you into bed now and make sure it's all quiet for you so you can get some sleep, or like help you stay awake for a few hours so you don't totally ruin your sleep schedule. Like, let's take you to McDonald's or something. You deserve it.
Rob tends to stay up for a lot of it, but like for a lot of my early 24-hour streams, because I did a bunch that first year that I streamed, and he stayed up for like a lot of them, but then he always had to go to work the next day, so he'd have to eventually go to bed. And it's not like he wasn't part of the cast so much, especially in the beginning when he didn't have a computer. He'd just like hang out and like watch a show or something like that in my old apartment. Oh my god. And like my cat Nika, my other cat, not the one that's been here, would sleep on him because I'm loud and I like talk and I move my hands and I'm playing a game, and I'm one of those people that when I'm playing a game I do this, like I lean with the camera, and so my cat hates being anywhere near me when I'm actually streaming, and so he would be the cat bed. It's very cute. But he was there, he was there, and like he'd get up and get me like food or a drink or whatever. I used to not get up myself, which was really bad. It was really bad because then I'd end a 24-hour stream and I'd need his help to get up off the couch, and it was terrible, but I don't do that anymore. And so, I've gotten better about being more smart about event streams. I just can't physically handle 24 hours anymore. It's just not worth it. And because I'm a pretty much a daily streamer. I take one day off a week sometimes. And if I do a 24-hour stream, I'm horrible the rest of the week. I definitely don't stream the next day. probably like it makes me burn out, and so I feel like not doing those is better for the stream and for me. But I'll do like a 12-hour or a 14-hour or 15-hour or whatever when I can, like healthathon things and etc. And I think those have been a lot better. And Rob will usually help me like prep for that kind of stuff, and also stay up if it's late, like, and play with me sometimes, or the next day he'll play with me if I'm tired, which happens a lot, and like it's a game that we can play together. He'll just sort of back me up and play with me and make it easy for me to stream and just talk to the community and you know, putter around and drive cars off cliffs, or let him drive cars off cliffs. I think I've been a bad influence on his driving in video games. But yeah, like he'll just be there, and I agree with Snowlit too. Like the next day, I'm kind of useless the next day after a long stream, and even at 12 hours sometimes. And so Rob will like bring me food and snuggle, and that's all I really need. Food, snuggles, and cats.
All the snuggles. So then, moving along then to our last question. Our last question is from Bran Smith. And this is a pretty lengthy one, but I did post it for you guys to read along if you want me to read out. But he says, I know we're focusing on significant others and the streaming, but what about the interaction with your extended families? Do your significant others handle more of the real world family issues and things? Or how close do you feel to your extended families? When he says extended families, he means like actual blood family. Do you feel those relationships have suffered because of streaming? And have your relationships with extended families gotten stronger? How many of you are actually married? Or are you all just in not quite married relationships? There's a lot of questions in this. I said it's the last question, but there's like 5. But yeah, feel free to to go into it.
There's the answer to that last question.
Yeah, we're basically married. We're just not paperwork people, so.
We were like that for a long time. We were basically married like a couple of years in, but it took us another 6 to plan the wedding.
Yeah, I don't ever want to do that whole planning wedding thing. No. It just there's no reason for paperwork. There's really just no reason. If there was ever a reason, then we do it, but there's just no reason. So but in terms of family stuff, I definitely see my family not a lot, but they also live in a different city. And I still see them a fair amount, I would say. And I still talk to them a fair amount. And I think I lived close to my family for a long time. And moving away, I think, was something I needed to do anyway. And I honestly don't think that I don't think it would matter what I was doing. I kind of broke out on my own because I'm an only child, and it was just like, I love my family, and I do wish that I sort of spent more time with them, a little bit more time with them than I do now, but I do still spend time with them. I do still talk to them and stuff like that, and I feel like the distance that there is now is kind of just what I needed as I grew up, if that makes sense. And it's fine. Like, I mean, I'm gonna go hang out with my dad for in less than a week. So that's been good. Rob sees his mom all the time, and I wish I saw her more, actually. I didn't see her at all for like a year and a half, almost 2 years. Like we hung out a little bit when Rob and I first got together, and then I just never saw her because I was always here streaming, and like, it just, we kept saying we were going to do something and then we never did anything. It was weird. We just never quite made the time. And so I feel bad that I don't see her enough, I think. And like, my parents right now are just kind of all over the place. So I don't see my mom enough, I think. But she's come to visit me, which has been nice. She's actually hung out on stream a little bit, which was really funny.
I remember you guys did like a cooking stream together.
Yeah, that was really fun. That was really, really fun. So it's a balancing act, like every relationship, like every situation, I don't think that streaming has affected it the same way that it would and could affect like mine and Rob's relationship, because they just, I mean, I feel like I would be spending the same amount of time with them, living in a different city and having a career of some kind and a significant other and cats. You know, the life that I've built here, I feel like would take any other job in that life would still have taken me the same distance away from them, if that makes sense. So.
I actually see my my in-laws a lot more, Jen's family a lot more than I do my own. My mom and my dad have sort of retired in the Philippines, and I get to see them maybe once. I saw them in December, and it probably won't be another year or two before I see them again. My sister lives in San Diego though, so I see her and her kids a lot. But yeah, I've actually had some of my in-laws on stream. I've gotten my niece niece-in-law into streaming. Is she streaming right now? Oh. Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, she's streaming right now then. So I don't think it hasn't been really an effect. Like I was saying earlier in the chat, my family never really got what I did out of college. My family is a family of lawyers and politicians and you know, the usual Filipino fare, and my dad and I kind of broke the mold with that. So like even with my dad, like explaining to him what I do, and I think it's a little easier to explain this one because they can see videos of me and they've watched me, and which is weird. I think when your sister comes in saying mom says hi, I'm like, did I just curse? I hope I didn't curse just now, and things like that. But it hasn't really been a big issue or not. I think they're just happy that I'm enjoying myself, and you know, it's the Asian dad thing. It's like, you know, as long as you went to school, you graduated college, and now you have a job, you're good. It's like your thing.
Yeah. See, in my case, my family doesn't even know what I do for a living. I haven't told any of them. They don't know. The only person
After how long?
after over 2 years now, they still don't know. And it's funny because when I saw this question, I was like, oh, I'm gonna have a very different answer to this.
I love the fact, like it's like the day. I want there to be like a chronicle of the day it happens.
Oh yeah, I mean the day it happens, you guys will hear about it. But because they're not just gonna calmly be like, you know, taking it. But the only person who knows in my family is my younger brother, and he comes by sometimes and says hi on stream and stuff like that. And but he lives back in North Carolina, which is where most of my family still are, and so I don't get to see him physically as much. He's come by to visit actually last year in the fall, and we actually did a cooking stream together because he brought his girlfriend along, and we basically did a snowy bro couple kind of cooking. We made gingerbread cookies. So that was really fun. But he's the only one who knows. Of everybody else in my family, they don't know. I tell them that I do things with computers, and they just take it. So I mean, it's not a lie. So and I tell them, you know, they ended up saying that as long as I'm okay financially, they don't, I guess they haven't pried further. They've definitely been curious, but they don't really know. And since they live in North Carolina and I'm over here in Colorado, they can't just like hop, skip, and jump over to check, you know? And so, yeah, they don't know. And as a result, since we don't live in the same state, we don't see or talk to each other a lot. And I've also just been mostly kind of estranged from them just because they never accepted most of my life decisions, including like what I majored in undergrad and what I went to get my master's degree in. Like they've just never approved, and as a result I've never been the type to openly share what I do with my life with them. And so yeah, that's the funny thing about it, I guess. I mean, they know I have crazy hair, and they're like, why are you doing that to yourself and all that, but you know, like they've seen the photos and they're like, what are you doing, that's gonna kill your hair and blah blah blah. But yeah, so other than that, they don't really know. So there you go, that's my answer to that question. And Diz and I are not married yet. We've thought about it. we're not, it's one of those things that, we're not in a rush to do, but it might very well happen in the future. So.
I've
Well,
always wondered what it would be like to have a bunch of streamers at a wedding.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
sounds like fun.
I streamed my wedding on Ustream way back when, but it'd be different if it was like IRL on Twitch.
You did
like
stream your
Professor
Final
Broman.
Fantasy wedding.
Yeah, Professor
I
Broman
did, yeah. Broman
didn't.
did it, yeah.
Yeah, well, he didn't stream it, did he?
He streamed he didn't stream the ceremony, he streamed the reception.
Yeah.
We streamed both, but it was like off an iPhone, like before Twitch was even a thing. So it's like,
Yeah.
I always wonder.
Oh, my whole family knows that I stream. Basically, my mom is the one who got me into computers and video games and stuff anyway. Also, there's a cat.
Cat? Oh, no.
So they've always been like really supportive of like stuff that I want to do that's like maybe not so normal. So whenever I told my parents that I was streaming, they were like, "Oh, that's cool." And whenever I went full time, my mom actually subscribed to me.
That's amazing.
She's
love
actually
that.
probably here watching the podcast because they watch my stream, and it's really sweet. My dad, I love him to pieces. He actually doesn't really use computers much, but he'll like watch my stream from my mom watching my stream and like ask about like, oh, like what is she up to today, or like like, oh my gosh, like how's her sub goal that she was working towards.
Oh man, that's cool.
So I feel pretty lucky. My family's really awesome. And
Part of my family is here. But so one funny thing that actually both of you guys made me think of. So my parents, I think, are happy that I'm into what I'm doing and I'm sticking with what I'm doing, because nothing I've ever done before I was listening to, right? And every now and then my dad kind of still is like, move back to New York and go to medical school, and I'm like, hell no. And he's like, all right, fine. That's basically how he is. But it was funny because when I didn't tell him for the first month and a half, I think. I just completely was like, oh, I'm still doing my other job. Because I also was working from home, and it was kind of like with Snowlit. I just didn't know how they would react. And I didn't, at the time, it was so new, I didn't think it would even be a thing. And then all of a sudden it became a thing. And I sort of had to tell him. I hadn't planned on it. I was going to probably keep it a secret until it was sort of more, I don't know, sustainable or something. But then I was sort of in a magazine, and I knew that they read the magazine and I knew they would see it. So I had to call my dad and be like, so I started doing this thing, you may read about it, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, you're doing what now? Except in Russian, and it sounded kind of the same. But it worked out in the end. I think my parents are very Russian. They actually stopped by the stream. They don't chat because I told them not to, because I think it would make me really nervous. I love them very much, but it does, because sometimes my dad will text me or my mom will text me and they'll be like, hey, blah, 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 I'm in the stream. And I'm like, I don't know why. It just makes me really nervous. I don't know why.
Honestly, though, I understand your nervousness, because I feel like if I ever showed my parents, I wouldn't really want them to talk either in my chat.
Yeah.
Just because, well, for one, in my case, my parents don't really know English that well. And so, and I just feel like, I don't know. It's hard. I think it's hard to know what they would say, and I think it would make me nervous too, So I can relate to your sentiment there. Oh man, but that's really cool. And I'm sorry, I'm still reacting to Bard Mom right now.
I am just right now, I'm just like, boom. Anyway.
I mean, I totally get what you and Tuts are saying. So probably the only reason why I don't feel weird is literally that my mom introduced me to the internet. Like, if it weren't for her, I probably wouldn't be as into the internet and video games as I am. And she's just kind of
cool.
That is great. I was the one that snuck a Prodigy CD and waited until the telephone line was open to use dial.
Yeah, she built some of our first PCs and like tried to show me how to do it. And she
Holy shit, best mom.
I've talked about this on my own stream, but she used to run a BBS where we'd all play Legend of the Red Dragon.
That's just amazing.
Anyone knows what a BBS is.
Wow. This is so cool. This is so cool. That's awesome. Oh man. So, anything else to add about family, extended family, relationships? I guess that's really it, huh? Well,
We're good. Yeah.
we're good. So, to wrap things up, one last piece of advice, just one thing that you would like listeners to this episode to walk away with on the topic of balancing streaming and your significant other. Last piece of it, just one thing from each of us that you want viewers and listeners to walk away with on this episode on balancing streaming and your significant other.
Don't take either one for granted. Both are relationships that are important, right? You obviously, I feel like your significant other, especially if they're your partner for life, or if you consider them, potentially your partner for life. Don't let little things snowball. Always keep the line of communication open and always make time, even when they don't say anything. Like, anticipate the fact that they might feel neglected if you don't make time for them. And also never take the stream for granted. You have to balance the two. I mean, I feel like it's really hard to take the stream for granted because it's so amazing, but it's possible. It's possible to kind of, I feel like it's possible, especially when you've done it for a long time, to kind of sit back and be like, okay, this is kind of stable. And then you might have a moment with stream where you lose 70 subs and you're like, oh crap, and then you look back over the last little while and try to figure out what the heck happened. And maybe nothing's happened, honestly. Like that actually happened to me. I didn't lose quite that many. I lost, I think, like 30 subs or something in a few days. And I was like, what happened? Or I had a really bad day once when I had like half my usual concurrence or something. And so I was like, okay, what happened? What changes have I made? What am I doing wrong? And so anytime something like that happens, you should reassess maybe. But it might just be a blip. It might just be a bad day. And you just have to, I think with any relationship, with the relationship you have with your community and with the relationship you have with your significant other, you always have to be every day investing in it, every day giving of yourself to it, and if you keep doing that, then those people will always be there and they'll always give back to you. If they're not, then they're probably not the right person for you. But if they are and they're always there for you, then you always have to be there for them. Right? So don't take the amazing things in your life and people in your life for granted, I guess, is my takeaway.
The only thing I would add to that is, I guess it was a kind of implied, but like communication, even especially when it's about small things, you can never over communicate when it's your significant other.
I agree with all of that. I guess what I have to add is give your SO a hug. Like, when you finish listening to this, if you guys are listening to this, give your SO a hug. If you don't have an SO, you can hug your pet, your pillow, I don't know, whatever. Just show some love, because it's there's not enough of it in the world. And to be honest, when it comes to the day-to-day and some of the stresses that come with just living and then streaming, of course, and just appreciate everything, and show the small gestures of love and showing that you appreciate people, that really means more than you realize. So, and Spoonie, one last thing for people to walk away with.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much just want to echo what you guys said. Don't take your significant other and what else you have in your life for granted. Make sure that you pay attention to your significant other at least equally to what you do the rest of the things in your life, because it's very easy to get caught up in something that means a lot to you. Like, I know streaming means a lot to us. So you have to really work hard to keep that relationship alive and to keep it an important part of your life. So just do that.
Sounds good.
Your kitties or birdies or cute fuzzy things on the backs of your
Yeah.
chairs.
You can hug your pets.
Snowy turtles.
It's okay.
gone.
I'll just.
Willow's gone.
That's okay.
Oh,
Well,
you have one day too, Snowlit.
one day.
One day.
All right. So this basically concludes the episode tonight for the month for the Chillest podcast. Again, the topic was tough Twitch love, balancing streaming and your significant other. Before we wrap things up completely, though, we are going to go through and give one more brief round of introductions in case you don't know who we are. Like I said before at the start, we are not the only ones on the Chillest. The Chillest is comprised of 17 fabulous broadcasters, including myself, and we are all just amazing people. Amazing content, amazing communities. Please do follow all of us. But we're going to go do some self-introductions here, starting with Tess again. Feel free to mention like any upcoming events, what you're playing, stuff like that. Feel free to pimp it out.
Lots of Mass Effect. I played Mass Effect the whole series from the first one to the third one, and the multiplayer. So excited about that. Recently and like within the last couple months, and I completely fell in love with it. I always said that nothing could sort of equal Eve in my because Eve was my first love when it comes to video games, first true love, and this game is right up there next to it. It's just this series, like I'm so, words cannot express how hyped I am. I really hope it lives up to it. We'll see, but I'm going to be playing ridiculous amounts of that. I'm actually getting access to it early on the 16th, and I'll be streaming 2 hours of, because you get 10 hours early access. So I'm going to be streaming 2 hours of it every day until launch. And then I'm going to be in Tahoe for next week, spending time with Rob and my family. I will still be streaming, but probably only 3 hours or so a day in the mornings during my normal stream hours. And I'll just be doing the multiplayer. So I'm only going to do the multiplayer from early access until the 27th when I come back. And then I'm going to sort of take a nice bite out of single player, mostly because I'm going to be traveling and I feel like the multiplayer is going to work better for shorter streams, and I want to make sure I spend time with my family and Rob, and B, because I want to give people that are getting the game at launch a chance to get ahead of me in the story so I don't spoil it for them. So I will be streaming lots of Mass Effect, but multiplayer only until the 27th. And I'm so excited about that. I know the multiplayer is going to be insane because it was made by the same people that made the multiplayer for Mass Effect 3, which was so much fun. It's still fun. It came out in 2012 and it's still really fun 5 years later. So it's going to be good.
It's awesome.
Awesome. Well, going clockwise. So I am Snowlit. I am the creator and leader of the Chillest. And I am a full-time variety streamer focusing on adventure action RPGs and story-driven games in general. Recently I've been doing a lot of Neo, Bloodborne, those are first playthroughs, The Witcher 3 NG+, so it's my second playthrough, and Horizon Zero Dawn, first playthrough, as well as Resident Evil 7 first playthrough, but that's only on Saturdays. That's really about it as far as that. I do have an event stream coming up this Friday for St. Patrick's Day. I'll be doing a subathon themed around St. Patrick's Day. Subs and resubs get their names on shamrocks, which will disappear because of my green screen. But that's about it, so get hyped. Next is Spoonie.
Hi, I'm Spoonie. So, like I said before, I am a variety caster, and I primarily stream RPGs. I do tend to lean more towards retro stuff, but I occasionally play modern RPGs as well. Recently, I've actually been playing Final Fantasy Tactics, and there is another kitty that's so cute and distracting.
I know.
Kitty. Anyway, Final Fantasy Tactics. I've been playing Tactics for the first time. I am also playing Final Fantasy 11 and 14, the MMOs, and starting this Saturday, I'm going to be playing To the Moon. So prepare for the feels because I've never played that one either. But I love retro games and I love RPGs, and I might be slightly obsessed with Final Fantasy. That's about it. That's me. I don't have any event streams really going on, but hopefully in April we'll get some fun stuff going.
I have a cat. Hi, I'm Avalon Star. Brian, you can call me either. I am a full-time FF14 streamer. This is Willow. And I actually events this Thursday will be my I believe my final day on front page, and also my 1 year since my announcement that I was going full-time. So not doing anything too special, but it's gonna be, we're gonna celebrate definitely. And then kind of the next 2 weeks starting Wednesday will be a lot of like night streams for nighttime viewers. Jen's going to be going off to Japan for 2 weeks with her mom, taking her mom there for the first time. So I will be streaming a lot. And then in April will be my 3-year stream anniversary. So we will see where my progression in 14 goes. But I'd love to play some of the games that have been talked about, like Andromeda and Horizon and Neo, etc. We'll get there, guys. But yeah, if you like a good chill server with derpy cats like this one, you can come on by. I stream 11 to 6 every weekday.
Awesome stuff. Lots of good events coming up. So like I said, you can follow all of us. Make sure you follow everyone else on the team as well. And to keep track of all these amazing events coming up, do follow us all on Twitter as well, by the way. So check that out. This podcast, this VOD episode will be up on YouTube right after the stream. So if you missed it, don't worry. You'll be able to watch it later and listen to the rest of it if you missed parts of it. That's really about it, I guess. Thank you all so much for watching and tuning in, everybody, for the really good questions. We do this monthly, like I said. This is a monthly podcast. We do it once a month, and you guys can stay tuned. Follow the Chillest team on Twitter for updates on April's episode. We usually announce them about a week before they start, so definitely keep an eye on that. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in, and thank you all for joining me on this episode tonight and discussing what I feel was a really intimate topic. So thank you guys. Seriously.
Pleasure.
For seriously just taking the time to talk about this topic. Because I know it's not easy. And you guys did it. So thank you.
Yay.
Thank you so much. Well, that's it then. We're going to be wrapping it up. Everybody wave. This is it. Goodbye. Have a good night, guys. See you all on our streams.